Chapter 478. Under the dual effects of the heavenly fiend chaos god formation and the true demonic blood lotus fragrance, the minds of all the demonic cultivators and beasts present were affected. Especially the beasts whose intelligence was low to begin with. They had already completely lost their minds. The crocodile closest to the pool could not help but take a step forward. How could Wang Daoyuan let go of this opportunity to cause trouble? He waved the bone sword in his hand and slashed at the crocodile. The bone sword was far inferior to the white tiger blade after all, and this crocodile was also high-grade rank 3 with a body of hard armor. The sword slashed down, only leaving a bloody mark on the crocodile's body. The crocodile felt the pain and bit towards Wang Daoyuan. Wang Daoyuan hurriedly dodged and shouted, "How can such a treasure fall into the hands of evil creatures?" Hearing this, the other demonic cultivators also wanted to make a move. The beasts' bodies were strong, and their physical strength was much more durable than their spirit power. Once they fell into a chaotic battle, the beasts might take advantage of them in the end. Everyone was on guard against the beasts, but did not dare to make the first move. Now that Wang Daoyuan took the lead, the others were no longer polite and attacked the beasts around them. In such a narrow terrain, long-range spells were not very useful. In a one-on-one situation, the beasts had a huge advantage, but the demonic cultivators had the advantage in numbers after all. The beast's overall strength was still a bit lacking. Wang Daoyuan took out the demonic note soul-subduing bell and attacked everyone indiscriminately, disturbing their minds. Not long after, all the demonic cultivators and beasts were bloodshot. They completely lost their minds and fell into a berserk state. Flying Sand Sanren was also experienced. How could he let go of this opportunity? He took out the bone wheel and cut off the stem of the true demonic blood lotus. The bone wheel flew back and brought the lotus into his hand. Under the multiple effects, most of the demonic cultivators and beasts did not notice that the true demonic blood lotus was gone. At this time, a thin cultivator took out a bell-shaped magic tool. A low chime of a bell sounded, and everyone was awakened from their stupor. The thin cultivator pointed at Flying Sand Sanren and said, "A bunch of idiots, someone set up a formation here, you all fell for it." The lotus was also snatched by him. What's the point of fighting? This bastard had been hiding in a corner to watch the show. He wanted to wait for everyone to fight to the death before he made a move. Wang Daoyuan was infuriated. He had met someone of the same trade. People of the same trade are enemies. I've always been the one to fish in troubled waters, but this grandson dared to fish in troubled waters in front of me. As a gentleman, how could he allow such a despicable person to live in this world? He put away the demonic note soul-suppressing bell and held the bone sword. He scolded righteously. "I've already noticed you. The other Dao you were killing the ferocious beasts while you stood at the side and watched. When I was distracted, the lotus disappeared. I think it was you who stole the lotus, right? Besides, your illusory soundwave demon tribe is adept at using all kinds of underhanded tricks. Perhaps you were the one who set up this formation. Also, you guys are good at sonic attacks." In such a narrow terrain, the sound wave attack was extremely powerful. "We'll fight until both sides are injured. Then, you'll kill everyone and take the lotus for yourself. While you're at it, you'll swallow everyone's belongings. Fellow Taoist, you've really thought it through." Upon hearing this, the group of demonic cultivators stared at the skinny cultivator. People of different paths couldn't work together. The demonic cultivators of the blood demon tribe and the illusory soundwave demon tribe had very different paths of cultivation. They looked down on each other. The ferocious beasts were of different races, and the illusory soundwave demon tribe wasn't on the same side. Wang Daoyuan used the sword shadow divine light technique, and 10 sword shadows appeared out of thin air. He took out the soul extinguishing bell and covered himself with a thick layer of golden light. Then, he rushed towards the skinny cultivator. The other cultivators of the blood demon tribe also rushed towards him. The skinny cultivator activated the bell-shaped magic tool in his hand, and an ear-piercing sound came. More than 10 of the blood demon tribe's demonic cultivators were knocked down by the sound of the bell. Seeing Wang Daoyuan make his move, Flying Sand Loose cultivator used an escape technique to distance himself. This time, he didn't suffer much damage. Wang Daoyuan's soul-extinguishing bell had a long crack after the sound of the bell. The golden light on his body was also shattered. However, he himself wasn't injured. The skinny cultivator used an escape technique and retreated outside the stone room. Wang Daoyuan also used smoke cloud escape to follow him. This was the inside of the demon burial mountain, where the water spirit chi was extremely dense. A black mist covered the entire stone room, as well as the surrounding cave. The black mist can corrode the power of divine sense, so it's very good at blocking divine sense. Knowing that Wang Daoyuan was creating an opportunity for him, Flying Sand Loose Cultivator immediately used an escape technique to escape along the path he came from. Seeing that he couldn't escape this calamity, the skinny cultivator shouted before he died. That person ran away. This one is an accomplice then. He was hit by the 10 sword shadows. He seemed to be wearing an extremely advanced soft armor, repelling the 10 sword shadows. Wang Daoyuan followed behind the sword shadows, slit his throat, and took the skinny cultivator's inventory bag and bell-shaped magic tool. A few fiendish cultivators followed him out. One of them, a golden-haired cultivator, said, "Fellow Taoist, you said that this illusory sound fiendish cultivator plucked the lotus. Shouldn't you take out his storage bag for everyone to see?" The others also looked at him. Wang Daoyuan didn't dare to deal with so many people at once, so he immediately took out the demonic cultivator's inventory bag and opened it for everyone to see. Inside, apart from a beast skin book, a few jade strips, and some miscellaneous pills and demon beast materials, there wasn't any true demonic blood lotus. The blonde cultivator asked, "Dao, you also said that this illusory sound demonic cultivator took the lotus, but before he died, he said that you were an accomplice. How do you explain this?" "I suspect that the true demonic cultivator is on Dao Yu. Dao Yu should let us search him." Wang Daoyuan disdainfully said, "Search my body, do you have the qualifications to do that? Who saw me pick the lotus? I was just killing vicious beasts, so I couldn't free my hands." The black fog gradually dispersed, and a demonic cultivator shouted, "Someone escaped." The blonde cultivator coldly snorted, took out a long sword and said, "I think that illusory sound demonic cultivator was right. You are that person's accomplice, and you purposely released the black fog to let that person escape. If you don't give me an explanation today, don't even think about leaving this place alive." Wang Daoyuan laughed. "The person has already escaped, but Dao Yu didn't want to chase after him, and instead wanted to talk nonsense with me. I think Dao Yu just wanted to buy time for your accomplice to escape, right?" After saying this, he took out the white tiger blade, used the sword shadow godlight technique, and condensed 10 sword shadows. At this time, someone in the crowd shouted, "He is Daoist Thunderflame's disciple, Wang Daoyuan. Previously, when the blood demon army was chasing after him, I saw him use this sword and this technique to kill a late Zifu realm cultivator with my own eyes." The blonde cultivator was now full of energy, and he swung his sword at Wang Daoyuan. Divine Weapon Pavilion Zifu realm cultivators usually don't pass through the Blood Demon Ridge. "Wang Dao, you came to Demon Burial Mountain at this time. I'm afraid you already have a plan, right?" Wang Daoyuan swung his sword to block, and the 10 sword shadows attacked the blonde cultivator from different directions. The cultivator with the heavy sword on his back stepped forward, blocking the 10 sword shadows, and laughed sinisterly. "The blood demon army doesn't dare to offend Daoist Thunderflame, but us loose cultivators aren't. I want to see the strength of a golden core direct disciple." The other demonic cultivators also took out their magic tools, preparing to attack. Wang Daoyuan continued to refute, "Don't listen to this person's slander. It's not strange that magic tools and techniques are similar. The Divine Weapon Pavilion is the top force in Beiyuan Xiuxian. Why would they accept a demonic cultivator like me as a disciple?" When everyone heard this, they also felt that it was reasonable. Wang Daoyuan's physical body was strong, and his techniques had special attributes. These were all characteristics of demonic cultivators, and he was indeed not like a righteous cultivator. His identity was exposed, and demonic cultivators were not fools. He could fool them for a while, but he couldn't fool them forever. If he delayed any longer, he really wouldn't be able to escape. Taking advantage of the moment when everyone relaxed their vigilance, he once again used the cloud mist escape, escaping along the way. This time, the cultivators reacted. But in the black fog, they couldn't use their divine senses to lock onto Wang Daoyuan. Everyone used their techniques to disperse the black fog, and Wang Daoyuan had already escaped hundreds of feet away. Chapter 479. When Wang Daoyuan ran, the fiendish cultivators naturally knew that he was guilty and chased after him. The golden-haired cultivator did not believe him at all. He reacted the fastest and controlled a golden sword to attack him. Wang Daoyuan's 10 sword shadows were still circling around him. When the sword came, he ran forward without looking back. With a thought, the 10 sword shadows turned around and slashed at the golden sword. The heavy sword from before was made of sufficient materials and the 10 sword shadows could not cut it. This golden sword was a light sword. Under the pincer attack of the 10 swords, it was instantly cut in two. The golden-haired cultivator hurriedly retreated, not daring to run to the front. The other cultivators also took out their Dharma artifacts to attack. With so many Dharma artifacts attacking and only 10 sword shadows, it was inevitable that they would lose sight of one. He took out the black tortoise shield and activated it with all his strength, condensing a black tortoise phantom. Together with the 10 sword shadows, they blocked the attacks together. This underground karst cave was too narrow and there were many twists and turns. Sword kinesis flight was not possible and he could only use the cloud mist escape frequently. The black cloud mist could corrode the power of spiritual consciousness. Once inside, one could not use spiritual consciousness to probe at all. The pursuers were afraid of being ambushed by Wang Daoyuan and did not dare to rush in directly. They could only cast spells to disperse the black cloud mist first. Wang Daoyuan also gradually distanced himself from the pursuers. After running for more than 10 kilometers, he finally arrived at the first array formation he set up. This was an illusion array. Illusion arrays were usually hidden and not easy to discover. There was a defensive array formation on the side of a fork to attract the attention of the pursuers. 20 breaths later, the group of fiendish cultivators caught up. They were all fiendish cultivators of the blood demon lineage. Their spiritual consciousness cultivation was not strong and they were not proficient in array formations. They could not see through the illusion array at all. As soon as the fiendish cultivators came up, they attacked the defensive array formation on the fork fiercely. The defensive array formation could withstand the fierce attacks of cultivators of the same level for a long time, but that was under the condition that it was connected to a spirit vein. Wang Daoyuan's array disc was not connected to a spirit vein at all. It relied completely on middle-grade spirit stones to provide spiritual energy. In just 30 breaths of time, it was broken through. More than 10 demonic cultivators ran into the fork in the road to give chase. The others also wanted to chase after him, but the golden-haired cultivator said, "This person is full of tricks. This defensive formation is so obvious, it's very likely that he's deliberately mystifying it. We have more people, so it's better for us to split into 2 groups." The others had no objections and followed the golden-haired cultivator into the illusion formation. The scene in front of them was still very normal. The group of people walked forward quickly, and after walking for about 1,000 feet, another 3 paths appeared in front of them. Everyone split up into 3 groups to pursue. Looking from outside the formation, they seemed to be walking in circles. The function of the illusory array was to interfere with the perception of those who entered the array and cause them to hallucinate. If this group of people did not have an extremely powerful spiritual sense or a Tier 3 array master, then they could just keep going in circles here. When the spirit stones on the formation plate ran out of spiritual energy, the formation would collapse on its own. Wang Daoyuan sprinted all the way, and the pursuers were soon thrown out of the range of his spiritual consciousness. He didn't let his guard down either. When he passed by the 2 places where the array formation was set up, he activated the array formation. After half a cup of tea's time, Wang Daoyuan arrived at the tunnel leading to the surface. Using the earth evasion technique, he escaped into the rock stratum above. When he was about to reach the surface, he released his spiritual sense and discovered that the flying sand vagabond was besieged by 3 peak stage Zifu realm cultivators. Although his thick earth devil suppressing seal was powerful, he was facing 3 demonic cultivators of the same stage at the same time, and the yellow sand gourd was not suitable to be used in this place, so he was still suppressed. Wang Daoyuan suddenly came out from the rock stratum, and using the cloud evasion, he attacked an injured peak stage Zifu realm demonic cultivator. The 3 of them were attacking the flying sand vagabond with all their strength, and he was wearing the spirit-restricting silk cloak, so they didn't discover him. Now that one of their companions was killed, the other 2 finally came over, and they quickly pulled away from Wang Daoyuan. Wang Daoyuan glanced at the flying sand vagabond, and said, "You're really useless. I have dozens of people on my side, and I can still get away, but you're being entangled by 3 people. As for the remaining 2, we'll take 1 each, and quickly get rid of them." The flying sand vagabond used all his strength to activate the thick earth devil suppressing seal, and smashed it towards a peak stage Zifu realm cultivator wearing a blood-red robe. Wang Daoyuan was still using the sword shadow godlight technique. This technique's casting speed was fast, its power was strong, and it could be used both offensively and defensively. It couldn't be more suitable to instantly kill a cultivator of the same stage. His target was a brawny man wearing an earth-yellow robe, and his body had a strong fluctuation of earth attribute spiritual energy. This kind of person was generally good at defense. As soon as Wang Daoyuan's 10 sword shadows took shape, the yellow-robed cultivator also took out a huge earth-yellow axe. The earth attribute was known for being vigorous and heavy, so it was very suitable to use this kind of heavy magic tool. Of course, a person who could use this kind of magic tool also had a strong body. The yellow-robed cultivator raised his huge axe, and the surrounding earth attribute spiritual energy quickly gathered on the axe's blade. Wang Daoyuan naturally wouldn't just wait for him to attack. 10 sword shadows circled behind him, and attacked several of his fatal points. But his body's protective aura was extraordinary, and the sword shadows were unable to break through his defense. Wang Daoyuan used smoke escape again, and dodged this attack. But the yellow-robed brawny man's reaction was very fast, and the huge axe swept towards him. Wang Daoyuan narrowly dodged this attack, and the white tiger blade left his hand, circled behind him, and pointed at his neck. The 10 sword shadows also attacked the same place at the same time. At this moment, he was waving the huge axe with all his strength, and all his strength was on the huge axe. Even if he retracted his strength, he could break his waist, not to mention dodging. The white tiger blade carried the 10 sword shadows and attacked his neck. Blood flashed, and the yellow-robed cultivator was beheaded. Seeing his comrade killed, the blood-robed cultivator no longer had the will to fight, and wanted to run away. Flying Sand Cultivator used the thick Earth Devil Suppressing Seal to smash him to death. After Wang Daoyuan searched the corpse, he said, "Someone recognized me, I can't go north. You've been here before, where do you think I should go?" Flying Sand Cultivator also put away the blood-robed cultivator's storage bag and magic items, and replied, "Go east, there are no large spirit veins within 20,000 miles, and there are very few Zifu cultivators. We'll circle around 10,000 miles, and then think of a way to return to Mingsha Plains." Wang Daoyuan nodded, and the two of them headed east. After flying for 4 hours, they turned north. At this moment, a rank 3 mid-grade eagle-type demon bird was flying from the west. This demon bird's body was covered in black feathers, and it flashed with a metallic light. From beginning to end, it was following Wang Daoyuan and Flying Sand Cultivator 100 miles behind. This was clearly a demon bird raised by a cultivator. Someone was controlling it, and it always stayed outside the two's attack range. Just relying on sword kinesis flight would not be able to shake off the black eagle. Wang Daoyuan took out the flaming wind kite, and Flying Sand Cultivator put away his flying sword, and landed on the kite. Wang Daoyuan used all his strength, and his speed quickly reached 6,000 miles in 2 hours. This black eagle's speed was extraordinary, and it could still follow them 100 miles behind. After flying for half an hour, a blood cloud appeared 100 miles behind them. The blood cloud's speed was extremely fast, and it was at least 7,000 miles in 2 hours. Very quickly, the blood cloud caught up to the two of them, and it emitted the aura of a golden core cultivator. Wang Daoyuan and Flying Sand Cultivator's faces immediately turned ashen. They had encountered a golden core devil cultivator. A normal peak Zifu realm cultivator would not even be able to withstand a slap from a golden core cultivator. Although the two of them had backup plans that could threaten a golden core cultivator, a golden core cultivator's strength was powerful, and they had many tricks up their sleeves. If one's own strength was insufficient, and they relied on external forces to fight, the possibility of being played to death was greater. From the blood cloud came a weak voice. "Little friend." Wang Daoyuan did not bother to listen to him, and decisively took out the purple thunder evil punishing token, and injected spiritual power. A purple thunderbolt struck towards the blood cloud. The golden core devil cultivator did not expect him to be so wild, to dare to be so arrogant in front of a golden core cultivator. The purple thunderbolt was extremely fast, and before he could react, he was struck by the purple thunderbolt. The blood cloud was instantly scattered, and a pitch-black figure fell straight down. With a loud rumble, the golden core devil cultivator smashed a large hole in the ground. How glorious it was when he flew over on the blood cloud, and how miserable he was now. Wang Daoyuan used his spiritual sense to investigate, and found that this guy's spiritual power fluctuations were a lot weaker. His face fell on the spot. Taking the sneak attack of the purple thunder evil punishing token and not dying, He was at least a golden core middle stage cultivator. Chapter 480. Wang Daoyuan once again injected spirit energy into the purple lightning evil punishing token, ready to draw out the purple lightning at any time. Without needing him to say anything, Flying Sand Wanderer had already taken out the yellow jade and injected spirit energy into it. The golden core cultivator spoke again. Little friend, there is no need to panic, I have no ill intentions. Your methods can only deal with early golden core stage cultivators. If I want to attack, you can only injure me with your little things. Wang Daoyuan naturally wouldn't believe his nonsense and asked back, since Senior has no ill intentions, why are you chasing us? The golden core cultivator came out of the pit and raised the blood cloud again, sighing. I came here to do business with you too, little friend. I was heavily injured in my early years, leaving behind old injuries, causing my chi and blood to decline continuously. Swallowing all kinds of fierce beast blood was useless. Demonic cultivators of the blood demon lineage have problems with their chi and blood. Not only can their cultivation not advance, it will also decline continuously. If I was at my peak, your methods wouldn't even be able to touch my hair. Now, I don't even have the ability to dodge these methods. I asked around for a solution, and by chance, I found out about the true demonic blood lotus, knowing that the blood lotus seed can cure my chi and blood decline. I have a lot of savings and am willing to exchange the blood lotus seed with you too, little friend. After a cultivator forms a golden core, their essence and chi become one. The so-called golden core has the meaning of immortality. Even when a golden core cultivator dies, their chi and blood won't decline. This person's injuries are really strange. No wonder normal methods can't cure him. Wang Daoyuan was still not at ease. With Senior's strength, if you really attack, the two of us will die without a doubt. Why are you being so courteous with us? The golden core cultivator laughed awkwardly. I did have the intention to kill you and steal your treasures, but the method you used to injure me was the work of Lei Yen Zhenren, so you must be his junior. In the southern wasteland, Lei Yen Zhenren's name can make golden core demonic cultivators tremble. Even if you lend me some courage, I wouldn't dare to do anything to you. With Lei Yen Zhenren's methods, he should be able to sense the approximate location of the treasures he refined. If I hurt you and Lei Yen Zhenren finds out, he will definitely exterminate my entire clan. This time, Wang Daoyuan believed his words. If he wasn't afraid of his master, killing 2 Violet Palace Realm cultivators would be as easy as flipping his hand. If he wasn't afraid, there was no need for him to waste words with 2 Violet Palace Realm cultivators. Loose cultivator Flying Sand asked, May I know how many blood lotus seeds Senior wants? Wang Daoyu and I both need the blood lotus seeds. If Senior wants too much, it will be hard for us to split them. The golden core cultivator smiled. The effect of the blood lotus seed is extremely strong. I only need 2 of them to cure the deterioration of my chi and blood. If you want to form your gold core, you only need 2 blood lotus seeds. It won't affect your distribution. If you need anything, don't hesitate to ask. As long as I can get it, I won't refuse. Wang Daoyuan asked, Do you have the essence of earth? The golden core cultivator hesitated for a long while before saying, Little friend, you are making things difficult for me. Even the divine weapon pavilion would find it difficult to obtain the earth essence. With my little ability, I really don't have the heart to help. You'd better change your request. Wang Daoyuan only said it casually. He didn't have much hope. Now that he had found the 5 elemental spiritual fire, the only thing he needed was the materials for the 5 elemental devil suppression seal. The earth essence was hard to come by. Since there were no dragon species in the southern wasteland, he could only ask for the natal feather. He thought for a while and said, I saw that Senior's black eagle seemed to have a natal feather. I want the natal feather. The golden core cultivator didn't say anything and grabbed the black eagle. Ignoring the black eagle's mournful cry, he plucked out the only silver feather and threw it to Wang Daoyuan. Wang Daoyuan caught the feather and kept it in his yin and yang ring. He said, If that's the case, I don't have any objections. After getting Wang Daoyuan's approval, the golden core cultivator let out a sigh of relief. The one he was afraid of was Wang Daoyuan. Soon after, he looked at loose cultivator Flying Sand. Since Wang Daoyuan had already agreed, loose cultivator Flying Sand naturally didn't dare to insist. If he angered a golden core cultivator, he would definitely die. He cupped his hands and said, I want this blood lotus seed to form my gold core. It's just that I'm just a rogue cultivator and know very little about forming my gold core. I hope I can get Senior's gold core insights. The golden core cultivator took out a jade tag and threw it to loose cultivator Flying Sand. He said, "This is a small matter. Take it." Loose cultivator Flying Sand caught the jade tag. After checking it, he took out the true demonic blood lotus from his storage bag. At this time, the petals and lotus seed head were already dim. Only the 9 blood lotus seeds were still shining with a bewitching bloody light. He took out 2 lotus seeds and gave them to the golden core cultivator. The golden core cultivator hurriedly caught the lotus seeds and carefully stored them away. He smiled. "This chi and blood exhaustion problem has been troubling me for more than 300 years. I'm finally going to be cured. The waters of the southern wasteland are very deep. The two of you won't be able to grasp it. It's better for you to go to the edge of the southern wasteland as soon as possible. The two of you are quite sensible and didn't ask for an exorbitant price. I'm actually a bit apologetic. How about this? I'll personally escort you to the edge of the southern wasteland to avoid being intercepted by other golden core cultivators." Although he knew that this golden core cultivator was afraid that someone would harm Wang Daoyuan and implicate him. But with a golden core cultivator escorting him, who wouldn't be happy? After saying that, the golden core cultivator rode the blood cloud in front to open the way. Wang Daoyuan rode the wind fire flying kite and carried loose cultivator Flying Sand, following closely behind. With the golden core cultivator opening the way, no one dared to obstruct them. Very quickly, the journey was smooth and they arrived at the southern part of Mingsha Plain. The golden core cultivator smiled. Divine Weapon Pavilion and Tai E Sword Sect set a rule that demonic cultivators are not allowed to go north. There are no cultivators in front that can threaten you, so I'll escort you here. Little friend Wang. My name is Yu Shun. Please send my regards to Spiritual Master Lei Yen. Wang Daoyuan and loose cultivator Flying Sand cupped their hands, saying, "Thank you, Senior." Soon after, Yu Shun turned around and flew south. Wang Daoyuan and loose cultivator Flying Sand let out a sigh of relief. Previously, they didn't keep the purple thunder evil punishing token and talisman. The two of them rode their swords and rushed towards Huang Jagged Mountain, entering the small valley. Wang Daoyuan took out the beast skin book and the jade slip, saying, "Dao, you should be releasing the seal now, right? Also, how should we distribute the remaining 7 blood lotus seeds? This time, we were able to avert danger because of my master." Loose cultivator Flying Sand took the beast skin book and the jade slip, directly extracting a strand of his soul and releasing the seal on them. He handed the beast skin book and the jade slip to Wang Daoyuan, saying with a smile, "The success of this trip was all due to Daoyu's strength. I originally planned to give Daoyu 2 blood lotus seeds, but now it's not suitable, so I'm planning to give Daoyu 3. In addition, I don't have a suitable place to form my core. My children's cultivation speed is really too slow. Even now, they still haven't reached the Zifu realm. The group of people under him were not people who knew their place. It's not safe to form my core in my base. Daoyu has a lot of connections, so I wonder if you have a suitable place to form your core? If you can find such a place, I'm willing to exchange 1 blood lotus seed for it." Wang Daoyuan smiled. "I do have a place to form my core." Loose cultivator Flying Sand's face was filled with joy. He quickly handed over the 4 blood lotus seeds to Wang Daoyuan and asked excitedly, "Where is the place that Daoyu mentioned?" Wang Daoyuan took the blood lotus seeds and pointed at the tunnel, saying, "I've opened up a cave several thousand feet below. I'll give it to Daoyu. You can escape through the earth from there and find the tunnel." With several thousand feet of rocks blocking it, the commotion during the core formation shouldn't be discovered by the outside world. As long as the golden core heavenly tribulation is attracted, no one will dare to make a move under the heavenly tribulation. As for the matters after the golden core heavenly tribulation, I'm unable to help. He still had a lot of things to do, so he didn't have the time to protect loose cultivator Flying Sand. Loose cultivator Flying Sand nodded, saying, "With this cave, I can form my core without worry. Thank you, Daoyu." Wang Daoyuan sent a message to his master to inform him that he was safe. Then, he flew towards the west on his sword. His target was the Thousand Blades Mountain. There was a 3rd-rank high-grade metal-attributed spiritual vein there, which could be used to condense the metal-attributed pseudo-spiritual fire. Chapter 481. After leaving the Huang Jagged Mountain, Wang Daoyuan stored all his gains into the spiritual pearl space and handed them over to his clone for inspection. The silver life feather he took from Yu Shun was of the metal attribute. He placed it on the Tai golden flame to nourish it. Currently, he was only missing a fire attribute life feather. Fire and metal attribute demon birds were very common. Within 2,000 miles of the sky/mountain range, one could easily find demon birds of these two attributes. It wasn't difficult to find a fire attribute life feather. However, after the vermilion bird fan was improved, the fire attribute life feather was the core. Therefore, this fire attribute life feather couldn't be too ordinary. It had to be of a higher grade or the demon bird's bloodline was more powerful. Wang Daoyuan wanted to use the life feather of the scarlet feathered crow. Even if the demon bird lost its life feather, it wouldn't cause any permanent damage. At most, it would take a few hundred years to regrow another one. Unfortunately, this little guy still hadn't regrown its life feather. The blood lotus seed was a heavenly treasure. It had the effect of strengthening the body and replenishing blood. For older Zifu realm cultivators, it was a rare treasure. If they were heavily injured in the future or were forced to burn their blood essence to fight, they could use the blood lotus seed to quickly replenish their blood essence. If he kept this thing, it might become a life-saving trump card in the future. He stored the 3 blood lotus seeds properly and tried to plant the remaining one. According to Flying Sand Wanderer, this thing needed to be nourished with the blood essence of demon beasts. The only blood essence he could obtain in large amounts was from the fierce blood boar. There were a dozen or so fierce blood boars in the space. Among them, there were 7 second-grade fierce blood boars. Although the grade was a bit low, he could still give it a try. Even if the blood essence of the fierce blood boar wasn't enough to germinate the blood lotus seed, it wouldn't be damaged. The clone dug a small hole with a diameter of 1 foot and a depth of 2 feet in the reserved area near the life spirit fire. The small hole was filled with the blood essence of the fierce blood boar and the blood lotus seed was placed inside. Whether it could germinate or not would depend on its luck. This time, he killed a few demon cultivators and obtained their belongings. However, most of them were things that Wang Daoyuan didn't need. The only thing of value was the item of the illusory sound devil cultivator and the defensive spell of the giant axe cultivator. There was nothing special about the cultivation technique that the other party had. It was also the illusory soul-seizing technique, but it was slightly different from the one he had obtained previously. Wang Daoyuan wanted these cultivation methods so that he could use them for reference when perfecting the doppelganger soul-nurturing technique. It was useless to have different versions of the same cultivation technique. What was valuable was the method to refine his bell-shaped magic tool. This magic tool was called the Dark Sound Soul-Burying Bell, and it was also a high-grade third-stage magic tool. This thing had several different uses. It could awaken the mind, attack the soul, injure the opponent's internal organs, and defend against sound wave attacks. This magic artifact was much more advanced than the demonic note soul-subduing bell that he had obtained previously. The soul-extinguishing bell that had followed him for over 100 years had been destroyed. In exchange for such an item, it could be considered a huge profit. The cultivator who wielded the giant axe had an extremely advanced defensive spell called the Profound Earth Handle. At that time, Wang Daoyuan had used 10 sword shadows to attack his fatal points, but they were all blocked by the giant axe cultivator's Profound Earth Handle. This Profound Earth Handle was a 4th-stage mid-grade body cultivation spell. It required earth attribute spiritual energy and a small amount of qi and blood. Ordinary cultivators could also use it, but their qi and blood were insufficient, so its power would be greatly reduced. Forcefully using this spell could easily cause qi and blood exhaustion and injure the internal organs. If a body refiner used it, its power would be extremely strong. With Wang Daoyuan's current cultivation, using the Profound Earth Handle, he could withstand an all-out attack from a cultivator of the same level. If that giant axe cultivator had not been overconfident, he would have exposed a huge flaw behind him. If Wang Daoyuan did not use the 5 elements devil subduing seal, it would probably take more than half an hour to take him down. Although he had the black tortoise shield, it was inevitable that the magic tool would not be able to protect him. The Profound Earth Handle covered the entire body without any blind spots. It was very suitable for close combat. The 5 elements devil subduing seal sacrificial refining technique that he obtained from Flying Sand Wanderer was indeed much more advanced than what Wang Daoyuan currently had. Every magic tool had been improved by quite a bit, and they all had 1 or 2 spells attached to them. The fusion and nurturing techniques were also much more advanced than what his master had modified. However, he could not let his guard down. This sacrificial refining technique had changed hands a few times, and it was hard to say if there were any problems with it. He would not directly cultivate this sacrificial refining technique, and would only use it as a reference for future improvements. What he wanted to cultivate were the spells attached to it. Regarding the information about the Earth Essence, the Jade Scroll recorded it in detail. Even the route to enter the underground was clear. It was just that this place was a little dangerous. The place where the Earth Essence could be nurtured was called the Demon-Resisting Mountain. Ever since Wang Daoyuan knew of his origins, he was more concerned about the decimating heaven abyss. In the Beiyuan records left behind by the Five Elements Taoist, there were many descriptions of the decimating heaven abyss. When talking about the decimating heaven abyss, it was impossible to avoid the demon-resisting mountain. 50 kilometers to the south of the demon-resisting mountain was the decimating heaven abyss. This was the place where the final battle of the demon race's invasion took place. After the decimating heaven abyss appeared, it had been constantly expanding. The berserk spiritual energy that seeped out from the decimating heaven abyss also continuously corroded Beiyuan Xueqi. The powerhouses that participated in the war that year laid down formations on many mountain ranges with high-level spirit veins to suppress the berserk spiritual energy. This demon-resisting mountain was one of the most important mountain ranges. It could be said that the demon-resisting mountain was one of the most dangerous places in the entire Beiyuan Xueqi. Those below the Aurous core stage could not withstand the berserk spiritual energy there at all. Other than that, there were many Aurous core devil cultivators there, and even remnants of the demon race. With this, Wang Daoyuan did not have extravagant hopes of being able to gather the 5 natal magic tools before reaching the Aurous core stage. Only after reaching the Aurous core stage and gathering the other 4 natal magic tools would there be a chance of success if he went to the demon-resisting mountain. He was not afraid of Flying Sans Sanren successfully reaching the Aurous core stage and intercepting him. With his little bit of ability, he would not have the ability to go to the demon-resisting mountain even after reaching the Aurous core stage. Half a day later, Wang Daoyuan arrived at the 10,000 Blades Mountain. Looking down from the sky, the north-south mountain ranges were squeezed together, and it really did look like countless swords pointing at the sky. This 10,000 Blades Mountain only had a 3rd-level upper-grade metal-attributed spirit vein. It was impossible for Aurous core cultivators or 4th-level ferocious beasts to live here. With his current strength, there was nothing that could threaten him. Landing in a valley in the middle of the 10,000 Blades Mountain, he took out the spirit-seeking compass and searched for a suitable place to condense the metal-attributed pseudo-spiritual fire. The spirit-seeking compass refined from the divine ferocious gold mine in the Blood Demon City was not good for other things, but it was still very useful for searching for metal-attributed spirit veins. He quickly determined the location of the main spirit vein of the 10,000 Blades Mountain. Then, he found an underground karst cave near the main spirit vein of the 10,000 Blades Mountain, and explored a depth of 4,000 to 5,000 feet. Unexpectedly, he found a 3rd-level upper-grade black iron crystal vein here. Although the value of black iron crystal was not too high, it contained extremely pure metal-attributed spiritual energy. With a large amount of black iron crystal, condensing the metal-attributed pseudo-spiritual fire could not be easier. He drew out a wisp of primordial unity golden flame and a wisp of dust-returning flame from the spirit pearl space and placed them on the vein. The 2 flames immediately burned fiercely. He constantly extracted the spiritual energy from the dust-returning flame and sent it into the spirit pearl space to nurture the earth-attributed pseudo-spiritual fire. In the past few years, the wood-attributed pseudo-spiritual fire, whose fire seed was the size of a mung bean, had become a real spiritual fire. There was still a huge gap between the dust-returning flame and the pseudo-spiritual fire. It needed a large amount of earth-attributed spiritual energy to nurture it. He did not care about the primordial unity golden flame and let it burn everywhere. Half a month later, Wang Daoyuan took out a sesame-sized fire seed from the primordial unity golden flame and threw it into the flames that were burning the black iron crystal vein. The fire seed automatically extracted the spiritual energy from the flames to stabilize itself. A day later, the fire seed stabilized and the pseudo-spiritual fire took shape. Wang Daoyuan did not immediately leave this place. Instead, he continued to excavate the vein. The primordial unity golden flame was still a 3rd-level middle-grade spiritual fire. Now, he had separated a part of the fire seed. To upgrade it, he needed a large amount of metal-attributed spiritual items. Black iron crystal was an excellent material to nurture the primordial unity golden flame. He took out his clone Chui Ming from the spirit pearl space to help excavate the vein. Chapter 482. Tu Yuming and Zheng Ping had important things to do. They were working together to improve the spirit gathering pearl. Wang Daoyuan had high hopes for the spirit gathering pearl, but the refinement method was too complicated and incomplete. He didn't have the time to care about these things. Now that he had 2 grade 3 blacksmiths, he didn't have any urgent matters for them to attend to. He just let them study the spirit gathering pearl. Currently, the 2 of them had some results. At the very least, the amount of spiritual energy stored in the spirit gathering pearl, its speed of gathering spiritual energy, and its reliability had all been improved. However, it was still difficult to refine and wasn't suitable for mass production. Since they had time, he would let them slowly figure it out. Only Chui Ming, an ice cultivator and a grade 3 lower array master, could do some menial work in the spirit gathering pearl. Letting him come out to mine for mystic iron crystals was a form of recycling. With the 2 spiritual fires and the fact that Chui Ming was a demonic cultivator of the blood demon lineage, his physical strength was strong. Half a year later, he had dug hundreds of miles of vein and obtained tens of thousands of caddies of mystic iron crystals. The metal spiritual energy contained in the mystic iron crystals was enough to turn the pseudo-spiritual fire into a spiritual fire. At the same time, it could also advance the Tai golden flame to grade 3. It was best to condense the water and fire pseudo-spiritual fires at the Gue Water Nether Spring. There was a ready-made lava lake in the karst cave. He could condense the fire pseudo-spiritual fire and nurture the earth pseudo-spiritual fire at the same time. He couldn't look for the earth essence for now. There was no point in staying in the southern wasteland. He had left the clan for more than 30 years. He had to go back and take a look. After tidying up the ore vein, he left the underground and flew towards the treasured Cauldron Mountain. All these years, Wang Daoyuan had some doubts and needed his master's guidance. These doubts were related to the Golden Rock Wrestling Dragon technique. In terms of power, the Golden Rock Wrestling Dragon technique was second only to the 5 Elemental Demon Suppression Seal. However, he rarely used the Golden Rock Wrestling Dragon technique after he opened his Violet Palace. The main reason was that the Golden Rock's image was redundant and required a lot of spiritual energy to condense. When facing enemies, he mainly used the Feather Blade. Although the Golden Rock's image was powerful in close combat, it wasn't worth it. If he wanted to win in a battle, he had to deal the most damage to his enemy in the shortest time. No matter how strong his spiritual energy was, it was useless if he couldn't use it in a short period of time. With his current strength, he still needed 4 or 5 breaths of time to form the Golden Rock's shadow. Using the White Tiger Blade and the Sword Shadow Divine Light technique, he could kill an ordinary cultivator of the same level in less than half a breath's time. Ordinary opponents didn't need the Golden Rock Wrestling Dragon technique. Against a strong opponent, the time it took to congeal the Golden Rock's shadow was enough for the opponent to kill him a dozen times over. Of course, the power of the Feather Blade was still extremely strong. Even though his Feather Blade was incomplete, a single Feather Blade was still stronger than a single Sword Light of the White Tiger Blade. Its power was about 6 to 7 times stronger than a 3rd-level upper-grade 5 Elements Divine Sword Talisman. There was no need to talk about the lethality of 1,000 Feather Blades. Furthermore, the Feather Blades were extremely fast. Among all of Wang Daoyuan's techniques, only the Earth Divine Thunder could match them. When he launched a sneak attack, his speed would be so fast that his opponent wouldn't be able to react in time. This would give him more opportunities to kill his opponent in one strike. Furthermore, the Feather Blade's penetrative power was extremely strong. Its ability to break through defenses was undoubtedly the best among his many spells. Only his natal artifact, the White Tiger Blade, had a stronger ability to break through defenses than the Feather Blade. Wang Daoyuan always felt that it was a pity that he didn't have the opportunity to use such a powerful killing move. This time, he wanted to ask his master if it was possible to change the Feather Blade to a spell that could be used independently. When he arrived at the treasured Cauldron Mountain and was about to report to his master, he heard his master's voice. "Come in." Wang Daoyuan walked into the cave and bowed. Disciple Wang Daoyuan pays his respects to master. Taoist Thunderflame smiled. "Not bad. It seems like you've obtained the metal attribute Spiritual Fire, and your cultivation has reached the late-stage Violet Palace realm. The strength of your soul has surpassed most pinnacle Violet Palace realm cultivators, and your body isn't weak. Forming your core won't be a problem. You can attempt to form your core within 50 years. You've been gone for 30 years. Did you obtain the earth essence? Wang Daoyuan replied, I can't hide my gains from Master. I found all 5 elemental spiritual fires. Although I haven't obtained the earth essence, I've found some clues. Taoist Thunderflame asked, Where is it? I'll go get it for you. Wang Daoyuan hurriedly waved his hand. Master, you can't do that. It's in the demon-resisting mountain and it's extremely dangerous. Even without the Kirin seal, it won't hinder my breakthrough. It won't be too late to get it after I form my core. Taoist Thunderflame sighed. If it was 200 years ago, it wouldn't be a problem for me to make a trip to the demon-resisting mountain. But now that I'm over 900 years old, I don't dare to go there anymore. If I'm seriously injured, I might die in advance. At that time, our lineage's inheritance will be over. You're far stronger than your peers and you also have the 5 elemental spiritual fires. After you form your core, ordinary late-stage golden core cultivators won't be able to do anything to you. At that time, your life won't be in danger when you go to the demon-resisting mountain, so I won't interfere. Oh right. Do you have any doubts about your cultivation in the past 30 years? Wang Daoyuan smiled. I have some doubts about magic and I'd like to ask Master to clear them up. Taoist Thunderflame nodded. If you have any doubts, feel free to speak. Wang Daoyuan took out the golden book that recorded the golden rock wrestling dragon technique and handed it to Taoist Thunderflame. I obtained this technique a long time ago, but it's mostly incomplete. Apart from condensing the image of the golden rock, there's only a feather blade left. The feather blade isn't weak, but to use it, one needs to condense the image of the golden rock, which consumes too much time. When I was in danger, I was saved by Taoist Swordless and saw him slash out with a sword. Even without a sword in hand, he can still use it. I wonder if I can use the feather blade without condensing the image of the golden rock? Taoist Thunderflame took the golden book and said in surprise, Golden rock wrestling dragon technique? Good fellow, you're quite lucky. This is the inheritance of Golden Rock God Monarch in the Valley of Beasts. Afterwards, he carefully examined the golden book. After an hour he said, Golden Rock God Monarch calls himself Golden Rock True Monarch in the book, so this should be the inheritance he left behind during the Yuanying period. Unfortunately, it's too incomplete. The complete Golden Rock Wrestling Dragon technique should have more than 10 types of spells, and this feather blade is also incomplete. Unfortunately, this is a Yuanying inheritance, and I'm only an Aurus core cultivator, so I can't restore it. Wang Daoyuan sighed. Looks like I can only put this spell aside in the future. Taoist Thunderflame waved his hand. You don't have to be discouraged. Although I can't restore it, it's not difficult to not condense the image of the golden rock when using the feather blade. Your cultivation is mostly cultivated by yourself, and there's no one to guide you. You know too little about high-level cultivators. Hearing this, Wang Daoyuan's hope was reignited, and he hurriedly asked, Master, please enlighten me. Taoist Thunderflame smiled. It's not a secret. Spells like the Golden Rock Wrestling Dragon technique include the Divine Sky Burning technique and your family's Water Dragon technique. They all rely on the Divine Beast's charm to cast spells. Once you've comprehended the Divine Beast's charm to an extremely deep level, you don't need to condense any image to cast the corresponding spell. You should have comprehended a trace of the White Tiger's charm, and cultivated spells related to the White Tiger Divine Beast. You can try to cast them directly without condensing an image. Unfortunately, your family's ancestor was a brute through and through. He condensed the Water Dragon image extremely quickly, and never considered this problem. Otherwise, you would have known about it. Wang Daoyuan thought about it carefully, and found this to be the case. He was only at the Violet Palace realm, and already felt that the Golden Rock image was of little value. Those Aurus core cultivators, and even Yuanying cultivators, victory was decided in the blink of an eye, so how could they have the time to condense an image? It seemed that condensing an image was just for the convenience of the younger generation. Chapter 483. Thinking up to here, Wang Daoyuan cupped his hands. Thank you for your explanation, Master. I understand now. These more advanced spells and the projection of divine beasts were just a stepping stone to get to the entry level. Even the life-bound flying swords of sword cultivators can be said to be a stepping stone. In the end, you still have to rely on yourself. Taoist Thunderflame stroked his long beard and laughed. You're a promising child. That brat Swordless understood this principle at the early Zifu stage. Abandoning his life-bound flying sword was his Tao. In my opinion, abandoning it isn't important. There's no need to stick to it. Your ancestor didn't abandon the water dragon as a stepping stone and was still able to make a name for himself. Everyone has their own Tao. There's no need to blindly learn from others. Wang Daoyuan nodded and said, Disciple originally borrowed external objects to cultivate, taking in all things in the world for my own use. But Taoist Swordless Tao is to abandon external objects and pursue the Tao from the heart. My Tao is the exact opposite of Taoist Swordless Tao. There's no need to learn from him. Master, this feather blade is still so powerful even though it's damaged. If it can be repaired, its power will definitely rise to another level. Can you help me repair it? It was virtually impossible for a Zifu disciple to repair a Yuanian cultivator's magical art. However, if a peak Jindan cultivator were to repair it, its power wouldn't be too weak even if it couldn't be restored to its original state. Taoist Thunderflame shook his head. It's not wrong that you like to rely on external objects to cultivate. However, don't rely on them too much. You're already at the late Zifu stage. In the future, whether it's cultivating magical arts or refining a life-bound magic artifact, you have to walk your own path. I'm not a metal attribute cultivator and don't understand the feather blade. If I were to repair it, its power wouldn't increase too much and would instead mislead you. It's just as well that you should learn how to create magical arts and techniques. What third-rank magical arts have you learned? Take one out and I'll teach you how to modify it. Wang Daoyuan took out 2 jade slips. Recorded within were the meteor art and the meteor fall technique. These magical arts had a form but no spirit. Its power wasn't much and he couldn't use it now. However, it was simple and clear and easy to modify. He passed the jade slip to Taoist Thunderflame and said, Master, this is a Violet Palace realm inheritance that I obtained when I was traveling in the early Foundation Establishment realm. I often used this spell when I was in the Foundation Establishment stage, but I felt that it wasn't powerful enough, so I stopped using it. Venerable Lei Yen received the jade slip and checked its contents. A quarter of an hour later, Taoist Lei Yen returned the jade slip to Wang Daoyuan and smiled. This spell and cultivation technique are a little interesting. I reckon the creator created this spell after seeing a meteor falling from the sky. He probably had never seen a meteorite before and could only imitate it based on his own imagination. To be able to imitate the might of a falling star, he could be considered to have an excellent comprehension ability. Unfortunately, he was still not knowledgeable enough. This spell had a form but no spirit. If it can be infused with the power of the stars, its might will definitely not be weak. After saying that, he took out 5 fist-sized rocks and handed them to Wang Daoyuan. Daoyuan, these are all meteorites. Feel the power in them. Wang Daoyuan took the 5 meteorites and probed them with his divine sense. 100 breaths later, Wang Daoyuan finished his inspection. Taoist Lei Yen asked, What did you see? Wang Daoyuan said with some doubt, These 5 meteorites contain different types of spiritual energy. Some contain earth, metal, and fire spiritual energy. Some contain earth, metal, and water spiritual energy. There's even one that contains all 5 elements. Disciple doesn't know which one is the true power of the stars. Taoist Lei Yen didn't answer directly. Use the meteorite fall technique to attack me. Wang Daoyuan condensed a fist-sized flaming meteorite in his hand and threw it at Taoist Lei Yen. Taoist Lei Yen stretched out his hand and purple lightning flashed in his palm. He caught the flaming meteorite and prevented it from dissipating. He continued to inject lightning spiritual energy into it. A few breaths later, the entire flaming meteorite turned purple, and only lightning spiritual energy remained. Taoist Lei Yen threw the purple meteorite at the cave's wall, but the cave's defensive formation didn't even have a ripple. Soon after, he condensed another purple meteorite and threw it at the defensive formation, which caused some ripples. He condensed another purple fireball and hit the defensive formation, causing the ripples to become even more intense. Taoist Lei Yen asked, Did you see anything? Wang Daoyuan pondered for a long time before replying, The first attack only replaced my earth and fire spiritual energy with lightning spiritual energy. The second attack carried the might of a meteorite. The third attack wasn't the meteorite fall technique, but your own technique, Master. This technique seems to contain the true meaning of lightning and fire, and its power is far greater than the previous two. Taoist Lei Yan nodded with satisfaction. As expected, you saw through it with just a hint. As long as you can steadily inject spiritual energy into a first or second level technique, it's considered a success. For a third level technique you need to have its form, which is its might. For a fourth level technique, you need to have its essence, which is to integrate the true meaning of lightning and fire, or the charm of a divine beast. Only by comprehending the true meaning can you be considered to have learned a fourth level technique. To create a fourth level technique, you also need to integrate the true meaning. It's enough that you know this, but you're still very far from creating a fourth level technique. I have no use for these third level upper grade meteorites, so you can play with them. Wang Daoyuan took the 5 meteorites and cut off a thumb-sized piece, extracting the essence within. After extracting the 5 elemental spiritual energy from these essences, there was still a very strange energy left. It was like a non-elemental spiritual energy, but it clearly didn't belong to the 5 elements. It didn't have any attribute bias, but could contain the 5 elemental spiritual energy. He used the earth and fire spiritual energy to integrate into this strange energy, and used the meteorite fall technique. The power of this attack was far greater than before. Taoist Lei Yan nodded and praised. Not bad, your control of the 5 elemental spiritual energy is strong enough to be able to separate the power of the stars so quickly. This power of the stars is related to yin and yang, and is not part of the 9 great spiritual energy attributes. The power of the stars mainly comes from the stars outside the heavens. In addition, there are some special constitutions. For example, Xian Jiuxiao has the astral battle physique, which can be combined with the celestial arcanum sex cultivation technique to cultivate the power of the stars. The power of the stars contains both yin and yang, and it can be used to refine the body and soul. It's also very helpful in forming yuanying. You're still in the Violet Palace realm, so there's no point in researching this. It's fine as long as you know how to create new techniques. Wang Daoyuan nodded and no longer bothered about the power of the stars. He used the Divine Weapon Pavilion's communication channel to send a message to his clan to understand the clan's affairs. It was still peaceful over there, and there weren't any problems that couldn't be solved. He wasn't in a hurry to return to his clan, and he continued to stay in the treasured Cauldron Mountain. If he had any questions, he would ask his master. A one-on-one guidance from a pinnacle golden core realm cultivator wasn't something that anyone could enjoy. Aside from cultivating, he would also constantly improve the meteorite fall technique under his master's guidance. Without the true meaning of the stars, he couldn't improve it into a 4th level technique, but its power had greatly increased. In the past, the maximum power of the meteorite fall technique couldn't compare to the 4th level of the Earth Divine Lightning. Now, after some modifications, its power had reached the level of an upper-grade 3rd level technique. An upper-grade 3rd level technique wasn't much, but in the process of improving the technique, Wang Daoyuan's understanding of techniques had greatly improved. With this experience, he would be able to improve the Golden Rock Wrestling Dragon technique and create other techniques without taking any detours. After staying in the treasured Cauldron Mountain for 2 years, Wang Daoyuan received an invitation card. The invitation card was extremely luxurious, and the cover was made of a 3rd-grade metal. There were even 5 colored phoenix patterns engraved on it. Without a doubt, it was an invitation from the great Zhou imperial family. He opened it and saw that it was indeed from Zhou Jingyuan. It said that there were several dragon species in the hidden dragon river, and they knew that he needed pseudo-dragon balls, so they invited him to kill them. Chapter 484. Among the 5 natal Dharma artifacts, the Azure Dragon Pearl was the only auxiliary Dharma artifact. Just by condensing the shadow of the Azure Dragon Pearl, the healing effect was far superior to ordinary healing spells. If he could refine a natal Dharma artifact, how powerful would the healing effect be? Moreover, the Azure Dragon Pearl could also extract the enemy's life force, which could be considered a special killing effect. With this item, he would no longer need to bring healing pills. It was just that dragon seeds were hard to find and he had never been able to refine them. Now that Zhou Jingyuan had invited him, how could he refuse? Wang Daoyuan cupped his hands towards Lei Yan Zhenren and said, Master, the Prince of Zhou Country, Zhou Jingyuan, has invited me to the hidden dragon river to kill a dragon. Disciple's Azure Dragon Pearl has yet to be found, and I would like to go on an invitation. After that, I have to return to the clan to deal with some matters. I'm afraid I won't be able to listen to your teachings for a while. Adept Thunderflame laughed. Your talent is exceptional. Staying here is a waste of talent. The 5 Elements Devil Vanquishing Seal is your natal Dharma artifact. However, one should never delay one's cultivation for the sake of a natal dharmic artifact. I'm already over 900 years old. I can probably live for another 70 years or so. I hope you can form your gold core before I pass away. Once you reach the peak of the Zifu disciple stage, you can come back to me. I'll guide you on how to form your gold core. With me here, you won't have to worry about anyone messing with your tribulation. Wang Daoyuan cupped his hands and said, Many thanks, Master. This disciple will leave now. Spiritual Master Lei Yan gave a few more instructions before Wang Daoyuan left the treasured Cauldron Mountain. He took the Divine Weapon Pavilion's flying ship and headed towards the hidden dragon market of the Zhou Empire's Hidden Dragon County. The amount of water in the Qianlong River was about the same as the Qingli River, flowing from south to north into the Wanchuan River. The streets on both sides of the river were crisscrossed with boats coming and going. It was much more prosperous than Qingli Prefecture. The Hidden Dragon Market was located at the mouth of the Hidden Dragon River and the Wanchuan River. It was divided into 2 parts by the Hidden Dragon River. Wang Daoyuan temporarily stayed in the shop of the Divine Weapon Pavilion in the Hidden Dragon Market. A few days later, a female cultivator came to visit. He claimed to be under the orders of the Crown Prince of the Zhou State to invite Wang Daoyuan to a banquet. In other people's territory, Wang Daoyuan did not dare to be arrogant, so he walked out of the Divine Weapon Pavilion's shop. It was a middle-stage foundation establishment female cultivator. She bowed to Wang Daoyuan and said, I'm here on the Crown Prince's orders to invite Senior Wang Daoyuan to the banquet. He had stayed in the southern wilderness and the treasured Cauldron Mountain for more than 30 years, so he didn't know much about what was going on here. It was not appropriate to call Zhou Jingyuan by his name in the Zhou nation. He took out the invitation card and pointed at the signature on it. He asked, Is this the Crown Prince of Zhou country? The female cultivator hurriedly nodded. Yes. His Highness, the Crown Prince, has set up a Hidden Dragon banquet at the Hidden Dragon Pavilion to entertain the younger generation of Zifu disciples. Senior, please follow me. Wang Daoyuan followed behind the female cultivator and soon arrived in front of a tall vermilion building. This tall building had 3 floors. On the first floor, there was a plaque with the words, Hidden Dragon Pavilion, written in gold. In front of the Hidden Dragon Pavilion, there were several Peak Foundation establishment cultivators standing guard. Wang Daoyuan took out the invitation card and soon, an early-stage Zifu disciple came to welcome him. His Highness, the Crown Prince, is holding a banquet on the 3rd floor. Please follow me. Wang Daoyuan followed him upstairs and entered the pavilion. The decorations inside did not seem like a restaurant, but more like a palace. There was a man and a woman sitting on the main seat. The man was wearing a silver robe with 5 colored phoenixes. It was Zhou Jingyuan. The woman was wearing a red dress with 5 colored phoenixes embroidered on it. To be able to wear this and sit side by side with Zhou Jingyuan, she was most likely the princess of Zhou country. There were not many people in the hall. Apart from the 2 on the main seat, there was only a man and a woman. The middle-stage Zifu disciple was wearing a phoenix-embroidered robe, but it was of a lower standard than Zhou Jingyuan's. He should be a member of Zhou country's royal family. The other person was wearing a white dress with black bird embroidered on it. It seemed to be the robe of the Song country's royal family. Seeing Wang Daoyuan walk in, Zhou Jingyuan quickly stood up and said, Daoyu, I've been waiting for a long time. Wang Daoyuan naturally could not be rude when the Crown Prince of Zhou country treated him with such respect. He bowed and said, Thank you for your invitation, Your Highness. Zhou Jingyuan pointed to the seat on the right and said, Daoyu, there's no need to be so polite. Please sit. Wang Daoyuan sat on the right and said with a smile, Your Highness, there's no need to be so polite. I'll sit on the second seat. Zhou Jingyuan pointed to the woman in the red dress beside him and introduced, This is my younger sister, Zhou Jingyan. She's also the apple of my father's eye. Wang Daoyuan stood up and bowed. Zhou Jingyan also stood up and bowed. Zhou Jingyuan then introduced the other 2 people. One of them was the Zhou Emperor's nephew, Zhou Jingkai. The other was the Song country's emperor, Song Yan's younger sister, Song Yi. The Song country's royal family and the Zhou country's royal family were connected by marriage. Song Yi could be considered Zhou Jingyuan's cousin. Wang Daoyuan also greeted the two of them. Zhou Jingkai gracefully returned the greeting. On the other hand, Song Yi had an indignant expression as if she had a grudge with him. Wang Daoyuan was confused. He did not offend her when they first met. During the battle at Wuqing Pass, Wang Daoyuan had only stayed behind and did not have any grudges with the Song country's royal family. Anyway, it would be difficult for him to have any dealings with the Song country in the future. Who cared what the Song country's princess thought? Since he was Lei Yan's disciple, the Song country's royal family would not dare to cause trouble for him. Soon after, many young Violet Palace realm cultivators entered. Zhou Jingyuan introduced them one by one. Among the people present, there were the princes and princesses of the Zheng country, Wei country, Yu country, and the other countries. The royal families of these countries were all side branches of the Zhou clan. There were also some cultivators from clans and loose cultivators similar to Wang Daoyuan. These cultivators from clans and loose cultivators were all late-stage or peak Violet Palace realm cultivators. They were all below 200 years old and could be considered geniuses. There were no more empty seats in the hall. Zhou Jingyuan said, "Recently, traces of dragon species have appeared many times near the mouth of the hidden dragon river. I sent people to investigate and found a total of 9 upper-grade rank 3 pseudo-dragons." The moment he said that, everyone became excited. There were only about 30 people present. If all 9 dragon species were to be killed, it would be an average of 4 people per dragon. An upper-grade rank 3 dragon species was full of treasures. Furthermore, dragon species were rare now. It was not easy to get a quarter of the dragon species. Zhou Jingyuan continued, "In the past, there were only 1 or 2 dragon species. There were no more than 3. The scene of 9 dragons appearing together has not been seen for thousands of years. Therefore, I have invited all of you to attend this event together. In another half a month, the hidden dragon river will have a spirit chi tide that occurs once in 60 years. At that time, many demonic beasts will gather and 9 pseudo-dragons will definitely appear. Although the hidden dragon river is Zhou country's territory, since ancient times, the pseudo-dragons that appear here have always been occupied by those who are capable. When the 9 dragons appear together, it will depend on Daoyou's ability to kill the dragon species. Everyone is here. Let's start the banquet." He clapped his hands and more than 30 beautiful maids served various dishes and wine in front of each cultivator. Then, a dozen men and women walked into the hall. The men walked behind everyone with musical instruments in their hands. The women were all stunning beauties. They walked to the center of the hall. These people's clothes were decorated with phoenix-like patterns. They should be a distant branch of the Zhou royal family. Zhou Jingyan also walked down from the main seat. Zhou Jingyuan waved his hand and music sounded. Zhou Jingyan led a group of dancers and danced. The guests in the hall were enjoying the music. Some of them looked at Zhou Jingyan and drooled. Wang Daoyuan frowned and was shocked. This music was familiar. It was very similar to the rainbow feather dance in his previous life. What was the relationship between the Zhou family and Huaxia in his previous life? Even the music was so similar. Zhou Jingyuan raised his cup and said, "Everyone has come from afar. As the host, I toast to Daoyu." Everyone hurriedly raised their cups and toasted each other, downing the wine in one gulp. After the dance, Zhou Jingyan returned to the main seat. Everyone also toasted him. The music stopped and everyone drank a few cups. Zhou Jingyuan said, "Daoyu, please feel free." He then said to the musicians and dancers, "Continue playing and dancing." Chapter 485. The Zhou clan was worthy of being a royal family with tens of thousands of years of history. The quality of their food and wine was not something ordinary people could compare to. The dishes were made from third-rank demonic beasts and spiritual plants. The wine was even more extraordinary. The raw materials were third-rank high-grade and had been stored for hundreds of years. Wang Daoyuan usually drank the spirit peach dew. Although its recovery effect was not weak, the raw materials were second-rank. The main reason was that it had been stored for a long time. During the banquet, Zhou Jingyuan frequently toasted the guests. Zhou Jingyan was a heavenly beauty. Previously, she had danced the rainbow feather dance, which made the male cultivators somewhat restless. The Zhou clan was similar to ordinary cultivation clans. Even distant relatives of the same clan could marry. Therefore, the princes of Wei, Zhang, and other countries also frequently talked to Zhou Jingyan. Wang Daoyuan was still puzzled about the relationship between the Zhou clan and his previous life Xueqi. He did not even look at Zhou Jingyan. When the banquet ended, everyone was full. The princes and princesses of each country naturally had their own residence. Wang Daoyuan and the other cultivators of the clans and rogue cultivators were temporarily staying in the Veiled Dragon Pavilion. After everyone dispersed, only Zhou Jingyuan and Zhou Jingyan were left in the hall. Zhou Jingyuan asked Zhou Jingyan, "Today's guests are all around the same age. Do you like any of them?" Zhou Jingyan disdainfully said, "In terms of talent, these people may be dragons and phoenixes among men. But in terms of bearing, any member of our Zhou clan's main bloodline is better than those people. Even the princes of Wei, Zhang, and other countries are like lechers." Zhou Jingyuan smiled and said, "Then what do you think of Wang Daoyuan?" He didn't say a word from beginning to end. When you were dancing, he only glanced at you and did not look again. Zhou Jingyan looked indignant. Humph. He didn't even look at me. There must be something wrong with his eyes. Zhou Jingyuan was amused by her. Look at you. You said he was a lecher and had no manners. He didn't look at you and you said there was something wrong with his eyes. In front of you, there are no good men in the world. In my opinion, this Wang Daoyu does not have a problem with his eyes. He is a gentleman who is not moved by beauty. If Wang Daoyuan heard this, he would definitely say, "Brother Zhou knows me best." Wang Daoyuan followed the attendant to a small courtyard behind the Veiled Dragon Pavilion. This was the guest room of the Veiled Dragon Pavilion and also his residence. Behind the small courtyard was the intersection of the Qianlong River and the Wanchuan River. It could be considered a riverview house. After Wang Daoyuan settled down, he did not stay idle. His spiritual consciousness was constantly observing the situation in the river. Zhou Jingyuan came to visit not long after they entered the small courtyard. Wang Daoyuan naturally treated him with courtesy. After the two of them entered the room and sat down, Wang Daoyuan cupped his hands and asked, "What matter does your highness have?" Zhou Jingyuan smiled and said, "It's nothing important. There are too many people at the banquet, so it's not convenient for me to chat with Dao Yu. I saw Dao Yu frowning frequently at the banquet. Is there something you're dissatisfied with?" Wang Daoyuan waved his hand and said, "No, it's just that I seem to have seen this dance music in an ancient book, but I can't remember it at the moment. May I ask your highness, is this dance music called the Dance of the Rainbow Feathers?" Zhou Jingyuan was stunned for a moment before he replied, "Dao Yu is really experienced and knowledgeable. This is indeed the Dance of the Rainbow Feathers. It's a song passed down from ancient times. My Zhou country loves music and has collected many ancient songs." Wang Daoyuan pondered. This Dance of the Rainbow Feathers was something from the Tang dynasty. Wang Daoyuan had only transmigrated 1,000 years ago. For cultivators, 1,000 years was not even considered ancient times, let alone ancient times. Even the Zhou family, a royal family with tens of thousands of years of history, said that it was passed down from ancient times. Then this dance music in Beiyuan Xiuxian must have been passed down for tens of thousands of years. As for the relationship between this world and his previous world, it was even more difficult to understand. It was not convenient for him to ask directly, so he changed the topic and said, "During this banquet, the princess of Song Country was hostile to me. May I know why?" Zhou Jingyuan smiled and said, "This has nothing to do with me. Song Yi is Song Yan's sister and the niece of the 6th prince of Zhao Country. You scolded her mother and beat her cousin. Do you expect her to welcome you with a smile? Song Yi is also a disciple of the Wind Snow God Palace and is from the same sect as Zhao Qingshuang. Many people in the Wind Snow God Palace are not convinced that you defeated Zhao Qingshuang. Song Yi might even cause trouble for you. You have to be careful." Wang Daoyuan smiled and said, "It's okay. I've traveled in the southern wasteland for decades and often dealt with demonic cultivators. I've seen many dangerous things. Sparring is just a small matter." The two talked for a while. Then Zhou Jingyuan got up and left. For cultivators, half a month was just a short time to meditate and cultivate. Soon, it was the day of the spiritual energy tide. Before dawn, Wang Daoyuan felt that the concentration of spiritual energy in the area was slowly rising. There was a level 3 spirit vein in the hidden dragon market, but the concentration of spiritual energy had risen to a level 4 spirit vein. Moreover, the concentration of spiritual energy was still rising. Soon, the sun rose. The rising concentration of spiritual energy did not stop. Instead, it rose even faster. A servant shouted outside the small courtyard, "Senior Wang, the crown prince wants to see you." After Wang Daoyuan tidied up, he walked out of the small courtyard and followed the servant to the top of the 3rd floor of the Hidden Dragon Pavilion. There was an open-air platform with tables, chairs, and other things. At this time, more than 10 people had already arrived. After half a cup of tea's time, all the participants of the banquet had arrived. More than 30 servants served tea to everyone. Zhou Jingyuan smiled and said, "This is the spiritual energy tide at the mouth of the Hidden Dragon River that occurs once every 60 years. Before noon, the concentration of spiritual energy here will continue to rise." This spirit chi tide had existed since the founding of the Zhou nation. It was just that it had been weaker and weaker each time. Since 900 years ago, the tide has not continued to weaken. According to the records of previous years, the concentration of spiritual energy will rise to a level 4 spirit vein. However, the spiritual energy tide has been getting stronger and stronger recently. The last spiritual energy tide reached a level 4 spirit vein. When the concentration of spiritual energy reaches its peak, aquatic demonic beasts will gather here and take this opportunity to improve their cultivation. Every time there is a spiritual energy tide, dragon species will appear here. Noon will be the time for all of you to show your prowess. After hearing this, Wang Daoyuan suddenly remembered that his master had once said that the concentration of spiritual energy in Beiyuan Xiuxian had been declining ever since it was isolated from the great cultivation world. Wang Daoyuan naturally knew that this was the reason why the main spirit vein of the great cultivation world in the sky-beheading mountain range was cut off. More than 900 years ago, the concentration of spiritual energy in Beiyuan Xiuxian had stopped declining. The spiritual energy tide in the Hidden Dragon River had also continued to weaken before, and it also stopped weakening after 900 years. In that case, the spiritual energy tide in the Hidden Dragon River and the concentration of spiritual energy in the entire Beiyuan Xiuxian might have some connection. Now that the spiritual energy tide in the Hidden Dragon River was gradually increasing, the concentration of spiritual energy in Beiyuan Xiuxian might also be slowly increasing. He was still only a Zifu realm cultivator, so he did not have a direct perception of the minute changes in the spiritual energy in the entire cultivation world. If the concentration of spiritual energy was really changing and Yuanying cultivators could appear, that would be good. Then, he could stay in Beiyuan Xiuxian and cultivate until he reached the Yuanying stage before heading to the Sea of 7 Stars. The higher his cultivation, the safer he would be when he went out to sea. At this time, the concentration of spiritual energy in the Hidden Dragon River had already reached the level of level 4 spirit vein. It was only the end of the morning, and there was still an hour before noon. According to this trend, the concentration of spiritual energy at noon should be more than level 4 spirit vein. Everyone discussed Tao on this open-air platform while looking at the river scenery. After 2 hours, the concentration of spiritual energy had already reached level 4 spirit vein. Zhou Jingyuan smiled and said, "It seems that the concentration of spiritual energy in the spiritual energy tide is higher than last time. Last time, the concentration of spiritual energy only reached level 4 spirit vein at noon. This time, it reached level 4 spirit vein a quarter of an hour earlier." The concentration of spiritual energy was still rising. An hour quickly passed, and the concentration of spiritual energy had also reached the highest level of level 4 spirit vein. The concentration of spiritual energy at this time was almost comparable to the concentration of spiritual energy at the bottom of the treasured tripod valley. The spiritual energy there was forcibly suppressed by the spirit binding array, and it was very close to level 5 spirit vein. According to this trend, in another few hundred years, the spiritual energy tide here might have level 5 spirit vein. Chapter 486. It was noon and the density of spirit chi was at its peak. Aquatic demon beasts began to appear at the mouth of the Hidden Dragon River. These demon beasts usually hid in waters with dense spirit chi to avoid detection by human cultivators. The more spirit chi there was in the water and rocks, the more effective it was in concealing a cultivator's spirit consciousness. As long as the aquatic demon beasts in the Wanchuan River did not cause a ruckus, human cultivators would not be able to detect them easily. The density of spirit qi in the hidden dragon river was not high, and it was also the territory of human cultivators. Therefore, Class 3 superior grade demon beasts would not choose to stay here for long periods of time. The Class 4 spirit vein in the Wanchuan River was also occupied by Class 4 aquatic demon beasts. For most Class 3 demon beasts, it was difficult to find a place to break through to Class 4. Now that the spirit qi tide was here, the density of spirit qi increased greatly. Be it for humans or demon beasts, this was a heaven-sent opportunity for them to break through. This group of aquatic demonic beasts no longer hid themselves. They all gathered here and risked their lives to take a gamble. If they succeeded, they would become Class 4 demon beasts. If they failed, their lives would be in danger. At this moment, a large number of cultivators gathered at the mouth of the hidden dragon river. Some of them were like Wang Daoyuan's group and wanted to try their luck to catch a few rare demon beasts. However, most of them had encountered bottlenecks in their cultivation and wanted to use the opportunity of the spirit qi tide to break through their bottlenecks. 15 minutes later, a black crocodile emerged from the water and rode the waves towards the mouth of the Wanchuan River. Upon closer inspection, one would realize that this crocodile was not simple. It was more than 10 feet tall and had 2 3-inch bone protrusions on its head. There were also 2 fleshy feelers by its mouth. Its body was slimmer than ordinary crocodile-type demon beasts, and its limbs were slender as well. The scales on its back were no different from ordinary crocodiles. However, the scales on its limbs resembled those of a carp. This was not an ordinary crocodile-type demon beast, but a hui dragon. Although its appearance was closer to a crocodile, it was a true dragon. This should be one of the 9 pseudo-dragons that had appeared earlier. However, Wang Daoyuan was not interested in it. The less similar a dragon's appearance was to a true dragon, the thinner its bloodline would be. Even if this hui dragon had a pseudo-dragon pearl, its quality would not be great. Although he was not tempted, it did not mean that others were not tempted as well. As soon as Xuelong appeared, a few of the cultivators who were watching the show could no longer hold themselves back. A late-stage Zifu disciple flew atop his flying sword, landing atop the nightmare dragon. The flying sword beneath his feet chopped out multiple streaks of sword light. As a dragon species, hui dragons were not to be trifled with. After taking a few sword rays head-on, he remained unscathed. With a flick of its tail, a huge wave that was several hundred feet high was created on the river. The late-stage Zifu disciple wasn't able to dodge in time, and he was knocked into the water. The drake opened its mouth and was about to bite down. The Zifu disciple had been smashed into a daze by the giant wave, and his injuries were not light. However, his battle experience was still extremely rich. He hurriedly used an escape technique to avoid the bloody mouth. After that, he didn't dare to stay on the surface of the river any longer and returned to the shore on his sword. Although this hui dragon's appearance was a little off, its fighting prowess was not weak. With just a single move, he was able to severely injure a cultivator of the same level as him. No one else dared to make a move. The cultivators that Zhou Jingyuan entertained were all outstanding cultivators of the same level. Moreover, with Zhou Jingyan and the princesses present, this was a rare opportunity for them to perform. Seeing that the others did not dare to make a move, they naturally wanted to show off their skills. For people made a move to surround and kill the hui dragon. The others were still watching the show, and they looked down on the hui dragon. However, the hui dragon's appearance was only the beginning. 100 breaths later, a blue flood serpent emerged from the water and headed towards the mouth of the hidden dragon river. The reason why it was called a flood serpent and not a flood dragon was because this fellow did not have enough dragon characteristics. This flood serpent was more than 200 feet long, and there was a long horn on its head. Although its head looked a little like a dragon, it looked more like a python with 2 fleshy feelers hanging from its mouth. It only had 2 legs, a bald tail, and no scales on its body. This fellow's bloodline was about the same as the hui dragon from before. Wang Daoyuan naturally looked down on it. However, this flood serpent seemed easier to bully than the hui dragon. Among the group of people, another 5 people made a move. Soon, 3 more dragon breeds appeared. One had the head of a flood serpent and the tail of a fish, while the other looked like a lizard. The third was a black flood dragon. It was rather interesting. It had a pair of sharp horns on its head, and there were no traces of a python on its head. There were still no scales on its body, only 2 claws and 3 toes, and its tail was still bald. Ordinary flood dragons were just like that. Among the group of people, another dozen or so people made a move. This time, Wang Daoyuan was also a little tempted. The pseudo-dragon pearl of such a dragon species was not low in strength. It would not be a problem to refine the azure dragon pearl. However, he still planned to wait for a while. The dragon race was far more intelligent than ordinary beasts. The higher the concentration of dragon blood, the higher the intelligence of the dragon species. This kind of person wouldn't come out so rashly. The rat pulled the shovel, and the big head was at the back. There were a total of 9 dragon species, and only 5 had appeared. There was no rush to make a move. Soon, another 3 flood dragons flew out. One of them was a fire flood dragon, one was a poison flood dragon, and one was a silver flood dragon. Among them, the silver flood dragon was the most dragon-shaped. Its head was no different from a dragon's head except that its horns were not forked and it did not have long whiskers on its chin. Its body was also densely covered in silver scales. It had 4 claws and 3 toes, and its tail was still bald. Even so, the concentration of dragon blood in this flood dragon was extremely high. 8 of the 9 pseudo-dragons had already appeared. Wang Daoyuan did not plan to wait any longer. At this moment, the 8 pseudo-dragons had already been besieged. Although the dragon species were powerful, they could not withstand the siege of so many people. They did not dare to waste time with the human cultivators and swam desperately to the mouth of the hidden dragon river. Although 2 people were already besieging the silver flood dragon, as long as he contributed the most, it would not be a problem to take the pseudo-dragon pearl. On the platform on the top floor of the hidden dragon pavilion, except for Zhou Jingyuan and the princesses, the others had already joined the siege. Zhou Jingyuan smiled and said, "Only 8 of the 9 pseudo-dragons have appeared. Wang Daoyu, are you not going to wait any longer?" Wang Daoyuan replied, "Time waits for no man. If the 9th one escapes, wouldn't my trip be in vain?" It was not unheard of for a pseudo-dragon to not show up when it saw that the situation was not right. He rode the wind-fire flying kite and flew to the mouth of the river. He took out the white tiger blade and attacked the silver flood dragon. Right at this moment, on the surface of the river dozens of miles downstream of the mouth of the river, a monstrous wave surged. Then, a dark green flood dragon soared into the sky. Rank 3 flood dragons could not fly. Since this flood dragon could fly, everyone thought that it was a rank 4 flood dragon. Wang Daoyuan scanned it with his spiritual sense and found that this flood dragon was only a high rank 3 flood dragon. However, it was extremely close to rank 4, which was equivalent to a peak Violet Palace realm cultivator. For it to be able to fly before reaching rank 4, it should have awakened the dragon race's inherited memories and learned the dragon race's flying techniques. Any flood dragon like this had a high chance of becoming a true dragon. Wang Daoyuan gave up on the silver flood dragon and prepared to take down this dark green flood dragon. When it flew closer, Wang Daoyuan could see its appearance clearly. This fellow's head was not much different from a true dragon's, except that both of its horns were forked. It had 4 claws and 3 toes, and a luxuriant mane on its tail. Its body was covered in dark green scales, as if pieces of jade were embedded on its body. In terms of appearance, the flood dragon of the myriad spirit sex Taoist dragon was not as good as this flood dragon in front of him. This fellow should be a jade-scaled flood dragon. Although there were a few flood dragons among the 8 dragon species, they were all snakes that turned into flood dragons and did not have a specific race name. This jade-scaled flood dragon had a race name. It was born as a flood dragon, and the concentration of dragon blood was much higher than that of snakes that turned into flood dragons. In addition, it had awakened the dragon race's inherited memories. As long as there were enough resources, it was only a matter of time before it turned into a dragon. However, it needed to be at least rank 6 to become a true dragon. Beijing Xiuxian was not enough to raise a rank 6 monster beast. This kind of jade-scaled flood dragon had the potential to turn into a dragon. In a fight of the same rank, human cultivators who could defeat it could be said to be rare. The jade-scaled flood dragon went against the flow, and all the cultivators along the way avoided it. However, not only did Wang Daoyuan not avoid it, but he also went up to it. Chapter 487. This jade-scaled flood dragon was more than 20 feet long, and its body diameter was also close to 10 feet long. However, its flying speed was faster than ordinary beasts of the same level, comparable to Wang Daoyuan's wind-fire flying kite. When the two were more than 10 miles apart, Wang Daoyuan did not dare to get closer. The jade-scaled flood dragon was known as a semi-divine beast, and its dragon body was extremely strong. If he got any closer, it would be easy for it to get close to him. Who would dare to fight a semi-divine beast? He held the white tiger blade in his hand and used the myriad sword art, slashing out 5 long sword shadows to test the defense of the jade-scaled flood dragon. The jade-scaled flood dragon did not even look at the 5 long sword shadows. It did not even care about Wang Daoyuan and went straight to the mouth of the hidden dragon river. The 4 sword shadows slashed on the scales of the jade-scaled flood dragon, making clanking sounds, but did not even leave a mark. The last sword shadow slashed between its 2 horns. Although it did not leave a mark, it still angered the jade-scaled flood dragon. How could a semi-divine beast with the potential to transform into a dragon endure such anger? It no longer went to the mouth of the hidden dragon river, but changed its direction and pounced on Wang Daoyuan. The 5 myriad sword art did not even leave a mark. Wang Daoyuan used the sword shadow divine light technique, and 10 sword shadows appeared, slashing at the head of the jade-scaled flood dragon. The jade-scaled flood dragon twisted its body in the air, dodging the sword shadows with its head, and using its body to meet the 4 dragon claws. In an instant, 4 sword shadows were crushed by the dragon claws. The other 6 sword shadows slashed on the scales of the jade-scaled flood dragon, but only left a few slight marks, far from breaking the defense. Wang Daoyuan immediately controlled the 6 dim sword shadows to dodge the dragon claws and attack the head of the jade-scaled flood dragon. The jade-scaled flood dragon reacted quickly, opening its bloody mouth and releasing a strong suction force. The 6 sword shadows were sucked into its mouth, and Wang Daoyuan could no longer sense the existence of the sword shadows. The sword shadow divine light technique, which had always been effective against cultivators of the same level, could not withstand a single blow in front of it. When the jade-scale flood dragon opened its mouth to swallow the sword shadow, it revealed a reverse golden scale below its throat. This was the dragon's reverse scale. The reverse scale was the core of a dragon's power, especially for dragons. The reverse scale was the key to transforming into a dragon, but it was also a fatal weakness. In order to protect this fatal weakness, the strength of the reverse scale far exceeded that of ordinary scales. However, as long as one could break through the reverse scale or enter through the gaps between the scales, they would be able to kill the jade-scale flood dragon. After the jade-scale flood dragon swallowed the sword shadow, it flew towards Wang Daoyuan. It swore to kill this little bug that dared to offend the dragon's might. Wang Daoyuan summoned the dark sound soul-burying bell. Under his full power, a long sword formed from his spiritual sense and sound waves slashed towards the jade-scale flood dragon. The demonic beast's divine sense wasn't strong, and it didn't have a purple mansion to protect its soul. Therefore, the sound wave attack was a fatal move to them. However, this jade-scale flood dragon was not to be trifled with. It raised its head and let out a resounding dragon roar. The aquatic demonic beasts in the surroundings all bowed down. Even the other 8 dragon species lowered their heads to show their submission. The cultivators who were besieging the dragon species were all frightened. They didn't dare to continue to stay on the river. They gave up the encirclement and fled to the shore. The long sword released by the dark sound soul-burying bell was also directly shattered by the dragon's roar. Fortunately, Wang Daoyuan reacted quickly. He activated the dark sound soul-burying bell again and formed a black defensive light shield to block the dragon's roar. The flood dragon didn't have a powerful roar attack method. This move was so powerful that it was most likely learned from the inherited memories of the dragon clan. The jade-scale flood dragon rushed towards him. Wang Daoyuan put away the firestorm flying kite and landed on the river surface. At the same time, he began to condense the golden rock shadow. The jade-scale flood dragon cast a spell to attack, while he used the smoke escape to dodge. This was the Wan Chuan River, and it was also the spirit Qi tide. The water spirit Qi was extremely rich. The smoke escape instantly condensed a black cloud with a diameter of more than 500 feet. The jade-scale flood dragon's spiritual sense couldn't penetrate and it lost track of Wang Daoyuan. It opened its mouth and suddenly spat out a green stream of air. The black cloud instantly dissipated. In order to stall for time, Wang Daoyuan used the smoke escape again. The jade-scale flood dragon also used the same trick. After 5 breaths of time, the golden rock's shadow with a wingspan of 100 feet appeared above Wang Daoyuan. When the jade-scale flood dragon saw the golden rock, a trace of fear appeared in its eyes. Rocks belonged to the Phoenix lineage. They didn't have a high status in the Phoenix clan. They were equivalent to the more ordinary true dragons of the Dragon clan. Rocks had a ferocious temperament and liked to devour, especially demon beasts with the bloodline of divine beasts. Although they couldn't eat true dragons, they could still eat dragon bloodline demon beasts. Therefore, semi-divine beasts like the flood dragon were somewhat afraid of rocks. However, the jade scale flood dragon's fear only lasted for a moment. It soon sensed that the rock had a form but no spirit. The golden rock grabbed at the jade scale flood dragon. The jade scale flood dragon didn't dare to take the attack head-on and dodged. Wang Daoyuan used the featherblade and released 100 golden feathers to attack the jade scale flood dragon. The jade scale flood dragon couldn't dodge in time and was hit by the featherblade, leaving scratches on its body. Unfortunately, the feather blade still couldn't break through its defense. The jade scale flood dragon heaved a sigh of relief, thinking that this spell was only a. Wang Daoyuan took advantage of the moment when it relaxed and instantly released the remaining 900 feather blades. The 900 golden feathers attacked the jade scale flood dragon's head at an extremely fast speed. The jade scale flood dragon's eyes revealed a look of horror. It was impossible for it to dodge the feathers, so it could only avoid its vital parts. It twisted its body and used the hard scales on its back to take the attack head-on. The 900 feather blades hit the back of the jade scale flood dragon's waist. Only a roar of anger and wailing could be heard. Shattered golden feathers danced in the sky, mixed with jasper-like fragments. After the dust settled, a bowl-sized wound appeared on the jade scale flood dragon's waist, and more than a dozen scales around it were shattered. The wound was badly mutilated, and the white flood dragon's bones were exposed in the center. The spectators were also trembling with fear. The green spiritual energy on the jade scale flood dragon's body surged, and new flesh quickly grew on the wound, but the scales hadn't grown out yet. Wang Daoyuan naturally wouldn't give up the opportunity to beat a drowning dog. He controlled the golden rock phantom and scratched at the jade scale flood dragon's wound. No matter how agile the jade scale flood dragon was, it was still far inferior to the golden rock. Its wound was almost scratched several times. It could only keep casting spells to consume the golden rock phantom. Wang Daoyuan kept reducing the size of the golden rock to make it more agile. Soon, the golden rock phantom's wingspan was only 20 feet long. This time, the jade scale flood dragon could no longer dodge. Its wound was scratched by the golden rock, and it let out a painful roar. The golden rock's claws kept tearing at the wound. The jade scale flood dragon's body twitched, and drops of blood spilled on the river surface. Its head and tail rolled to the middle, entangling the golden rock. It wanted to rely on its physical strength to break the golden rock phantom. However, with this entanglement, the reverse scale on its neck was exposed. Wang Daoyuan injected a large amount of spiritual energy into the white tiger blade. The white tiger sword intent in his sea of consciousness was also integrated into the white tiger blade, and the white tiger's charm was activated. He used the cloud escape to attack the jade scale flood dragon's reverse scale. The onlooking cultivators all held their breaths and stared at the river surface with wide eyes. This was the highest level of life and death battle below the Golden Core realm. The outcome was about to be decided, and no one wanted to miss this scene. Wang Daoyuan arrived in an instant. The jade scale flood dragon was shocked by the white tiger's power and was stunned for half a breath. In this half a breath, the white tiger blade pierced through the gap of the reverse scale. A dragon's roar full of pain and despair resounded in the wilderness. The jade scale flood dragon let go of the golden rock phantom. As if the final radiance of the setting sun, it used all the strength in its body and whipped its tail at Wang Daoyuan. This fatal blow was extremely powerful, and the tail carried a sharp sound of thunder. It was definitely too late to dodge. Wang Daoyuan's mind moved, and the black tortoise shield appeared, releasing the black tortoise phantom. At the same time, he used the thick earth mystic handle to resist the blow. The black tortoise phantom was instantly broken, and the black tortoise shield was also sent flying, suffering heavy injuries. In front of the dragon tail, the thick earth mystic handle was like a piece of paper, dissipating in an instant. Wang Daoyuan was thrown more than 10,000 feet away, vomiting more than 10 mouthfuls of blood in the air. He was still holding the white tiger blade tightly. His body was sent flying, and he pulled out the white tiger blade. A large amount of blood spurted out from the jade scale flood dragon's reverse scale. After struggling for a few breaths, It fell into the Wan Chuan River. Everyone present was shocked. Even the princes and princesses on the top floor of the Hidden Dragon Pavilion, who were used to seeing golden core cultivators, were stunned. Chapter 488. The jade-scaled flood dragon's final attack was comparable to the full power of an early golden core cultivator. It broke through the black tortoise projection, the black tortoise shield, the thick earth mystic handle, and even injured Wang Daoyuan's internal organs through the blood-fire purple-gold armor. Fortunately, Wang Daoyuan's internal organs were strong enough. If it was an ordinary body refinement cultivator, they would definitely have been killed by this attack. Even so, Wang Daoyuan was still severely injured at this moment. His internal organs were almost ruptured, and his dantian and meridians were damaged in many places. He couldn't fight with others for a while, or else his internal organs might be ruptured and he might not even be able to keep his life. He ate a rain jade pill and slowly gathered his wood-type spiritual energy, using the life force within to heal his injuries. After more than 20 breaths of time, the surrounding audience finally recovered from their stupor. A Zifu realm cultivator with a scar on his face flew towards the jade-scaled flood dragon's corpse. Wang Daoyuan shouted angrily, "You can take the jade-scaled flood dragon's blood. But if you dare to touch the jade-scaled flood dragon's corpse, no matter what your background is, I will make you regret being born into this world." The scarred cultivator looked back at him and said disdainfully, "You reminded me. The value of your artifacts and inheritance isn't inferior to the jade-scaled flood dragons." Wang Daoyuan sneered, "You think I can't kill you now?" The scarred cultivator couldn't make up his mind. He had seen Wang Daoyuan's strength. As for how much strength he had left, he really didn't know. But in the face of great benefits, there would always be people who weren't afraid of death. He took out another flying sword and prepared to attack Wang Daoyuan. Zhou Jingyuan angrily rebuked, "Daoyu is too much." The scarred cultivator looked at him and said, "The Zhou clan has never cared about the ownership of the dragon seed. Are you going to interfere now?" Zhou Jingyuan replied, "I can't do anything if you take the jade-scaled flood dragon. However, Wang Daoyu is my guest. If you touch him, you won't be able to leave the Hidden Dragon River alive, even if you're a golden core cultivator." The scarred cultivator's eyes flickered, unable to make up his mind. At this moment, a long sword flashing with blue lightning descended from the sky, pointing directly at the scarred cultivator. Sword kinesis attack was impossible to dodge. The scarred cultivator took out his intrinsic dermic artifact, his long sword, and forcefully received the attack. With a flash of lightning, the scarred cultivator's life-bound magic weapon, the long sword, was cut in half and the lightning pierced through his body. A rough voice sounded, "You dare to snatch the jade-scale flood dragon with such little ability? Daoyu Wang, you owe me another favor." When Wang Daoyuan saw the magic tool descending from the sky, he knew that the Xueqi sword had arrived. This fellow's brain was usually not very bright, but when it came to favors, he immediately became shrewd. Wang Daoyuan laughed and said, "Why are you everywhere? Even if you don't do anything, I can still kill him. It's just that my injuries are a little worse. How can this be considered a favor?" The Xueqi sword landed on the river surface, revealing the face of a profiteer. Disciple of the Divine Weapon Pavilion's Elder Lei Yen. "Are you trying to deny this favor of mine?" Wang Daoyuan waved his hand and said, "Fine, fine, fine. I'll accept this favor. Where did a sword cultivator learn to be so cunning?" With that, he got up with difficulty and stepped on the river surface to retrieve the jade-scale flood dragon's corpse. The scarred cultivator was still unconvinced and attacked Wang Daoyuan with his sword. Wang Daoyuan took out the dark sound soul-burying bell. The sound wave attack was concentrated and attacked the scarred cultivator. The flying sword was shaken to the ground. The scarred cultivator's internal organs were severely injured and his soul was not light. In addition, he was heavily injured by the Xueqi sword earlier. Seeing that he was not going to survive, he shouted with all his strength, "This is a demonic cultivator's magic weapon. Your spiritual energy is mixed. You must be a demonic cultivator." Before Wang Daoyuan could say anything, the Xueqi sword scolded, "Bullshit. You said he's a demonic cultivator. That means my Tai sword sex disciples are in cahoots with demonic cultivators? Wang Daoyu is Lei Yan's disciple. Do you think the Divine Weapon Pavilion is a demonic cultivator's sect?" Zhou Jingyuan laughed and said, You're ignorant. Many of the 5 elements cultivation techniques passed down from ancient times are cultivated with the help of external objects. The spiritual energy cultivated by such techniques has some other attributes. I'm sure Wang Daoyou's technique is the same. Besides, Wang Daoyou's natal magic weapon is the 5 elements devil suppression seal. That's the nemesis of demonic cultivators. Demonic cultivators can't refine this set of magic weapons. And the white tiger blade and black tortoise shield Daoyu used just now are 2 of the 5 elements devil suppression seal. The scarred cultivator wanted to trick Wang Daoyuan before he died, but it was useless. He passed away before he could catch his breath. Seeing the scarred cultivator's fate, the other cultivators didn't dare to make a move. Wang Daoyuan put the corpse of the jade scale flood dragon into the universe ring he carried with him. Then, he took back the black tortoise shield that was sent flying and flew back to the top floor of the hidden dragon pavilion. The rogue cultivators watching from the side also quickly rushed to the place where the jade scale flood dragon died. There was a large amount of flood dragon blood essence there, which was also a rare treasure. Zhou Jingyuan cupped his hands and said, Wang Daoyu is very capable. In a head-on battle, you killed the jade scale flood dragon that was about to break through to rank 4. I'm afraid there aren't many below golden core who can fight you. Wang Daoyuan waved his hand and said, I don't dare. It's just a trick. If I hadn't hit the reverse scale, I wouldn't have been able to take down the jade scale flood dragon even if there were 2 more. My injuries aren't light. I'll go treat my injuries first. Goodbye. With that, he walked down the roof and returned to the small courtyard behind the hidden dragon pavilion. Kuei Jian was also a battle maniac. Of the 9 dragon species, only the jade scale flood dragon was killed. Although the other 8 dragon species were surrounded, they weren't dead yet. How could he give up this opportunity to fight? He fought with the silver flood dragon. Wang Daoyuan returned to the small courtyard and consumed another rain jade pill. His injuries were too severe this time. Even with pills and life force, he would need to recuperate for 10 days to half a month to recover. It seemed like he had to refine the Azure Dragon Pearl as soon as possible. With the Azure Dragon Pearl, it would be much easier to heal in the future. The Spirit Chi Tide could last for an entire day. Often, cultivators could form their golden core here, or demon beasts could break through to rank 4. The next morning, the Spirit Chi density quickly subsided and returned to the level of superior grade rank 3. However, this time, no one formed their golden core and no demon beast broke through to rank 4. The remaining 8 dragon species were also killed. No one dared to fight with Kuei Jian for the silver flood dragon, so it fell into his hands. Everyone dispersed. The matter of Wang Daoyuan killing the jade scale flood dragon also spread in all directions. Some busybodies even gave him the title of loose cultivator, but they hadn't reached a consensus yet. At dawn, Zhou Jingyuan came to visit. He entered the house and took out a few pill bottles. Daoyou's injuries are better? I brought some Zhou family's secret healing pills. I wonder if they can help? Wang Daoyuan cupped his hands. Thank you for your concern, Your Highness. My injuries are already mostly healed. I'll be fine after a few days of recuperation. Zhou Jingyuan put down the pill bottle and said with a smile, Fellow Taoist Wang should be able to tell that I invited all the heroes in order to recruit talents. I also know about Daoyou's situation. Jade Spring Peak has Heaven/Mountain Range to the east and Shanbei Demon Tribe to the north. If a beast tide happens, the Wang family will probably suffer heavy losses. As long as Daoyu is willing to stay in Zhou, I'll send flying warships to bring all the Wang family cultivators and mortals to Zhou. I believe the Netherworld sect won't dare to stop us. Also, I'll set aside a rank 4 spiritual mountain to settle the Wang family members. Wang Daoyuan shook his head. How can we give up the foundation of our ancestors so easily? Zhou Jingyuan's conditions could be said to be extremely generous. Anyone would be tempted. If he hadn't discovered the 5 elements secret realm and didn't know about the secret passage across Heaven/Mountain Range, he would have agreed. Zhou was located in the center of human territory. There were no threats from demon beasts, but there was also no room for expansion. If the Wang family moved to Zhou, they would at most be a stronger golden core family in the future. If they continued to stay in Jade Spring Peak and develop to the east of Heaven/Mountain Range, they would be the master of a region. Although this path wasn't easy, their future was brighter than living under someone else's roof. Zhou Jingyuan continued to persuade, My sister Jing Yan has a good impression of Dao Yu. If Dao Yu stays in Zhou, he will have a chance to become Zhou's prince consort. Jing Yan is my father's most beloved princess. In the future, if Dao Yu makes great contributions, it's not impossible for him to be conferred the title of king. Chapter 489. Anyone would be tempted if this was a good plan. Unfortunately, Wang Daoyuan still did not like it. Zhou Jingyan was indeed a beauty that could captivate birds and beasts. But once he became the Zhou country's master, he would become a dog raised by the Zhou country. Not to mention that it was basically impossible to be conferred the title of king. Even if he really was conferred the title of king, what could he do? He would still have to depend on others. It was different in the Zhou country. The three major sects were really nothing much. In the future, when Wang Daoyuan formed his core and successfully became the upper echelon of the Netherworld sect, the Wang family would no longer be suppressed. With enough space to expand, the family could continue to grow and dominate Qingli County in the future, turning the outer area of the sky-beheading mountain range into their own backyard. As for the Netherworld sect's golden core cultivators, a vermilion bird fan and the five-element spiritual fire could teach them a lesson. For beauty, sacrificing a good future and becoming a dog in the Zhou country, that would be truly foolish. Wang Daoyuan was also perfected Lei Yan's disciple. The Zhou country would not make things difficult for him and there was no need to beat around the bush. He cupped his hands and said, "If I was a person who kept my achievements, I would indeed not be able to refuse your highness's offer. But I am a person who does not know my place. To me, being conferred the title of king in the Zhou country is really better than staying in the Jade Spring Peak. After I form my golden core, the sky-beheading mountain range would just be my backyard. North of Mount Huiyan is my family's mine and spiritual beast garden. The territory that I have conquered is the true territory." Zhou Jingyuan sighed. "Dao Yu is not a fish in a pond. It seems that my Zhou country is a shallow pond. It is difficult to raise a true dragon like Dao Yu." Wang Daoyuan smiled. "The water in the Zhou country is not shallow. The Zhou country is located in the middle of the human territory. There is no invasion, but there is also no opportunity to expand in all directions. The entire Zhou country is like a lake without waves, but what I like are stormy waves. I have long wanted to visit the Zhou country. Now I would like to ask your highness for help." Hearing this, Zhou Jingyuan was interested. Kuei Jian's status was also not low, but he valued Wang Daoyuan's favor. Now that Wang Daoyuan had asked him to do something for him, he owed him a favor. He hurriedly said, "Daoyuan, if you have any requests, just tell me. As long as I can do it, I won't refuse. It's still for the development of the family." Wang Daoyuan sighed. The Wang family is located in the desolate outskirts and there are very few ordinary people. Their various inheritances are mainly about cultivation. Mortals were weak and fell sick easily. The state of Zhao didn't have a medical inheritance that could treat ordinary people, so the number of ordinary people grew slowly. Therefore, I would like to ask your highness to help me collect some medical legacies that can treat mortal illnesses." Zhou Jingyuan chuckled and said, "That's a small matter. A mortal's medical inheritance isn't anything precious, and it won't be worth a few spirit stones even if it's sold outside. Dao Yu, wait here for a few days. I'll get someone to collect and sort it out. As for things like medicine, the Wang clan is close to the heavenly/mountain range and doesn't lack such things. I won't worry about Dao Yu." The two chatted for a while. Then Zhou Jingyuan bid farewell and left. After Kuei Jian killed the silver flood dragon, he stayed in the hidden dragon pavilion and asked for a small courtyard. He stayed right next to Wang Daoyuan. Wang Daoyuan needed to treat his injuries, so he didn't disturb him. After staying there for a few days, he felt bored and left the hidden dragon market, traveling to other places to explore. More than 10 days later, Wang Daoyuan's injuries were more or less healed. The black tortoise shield was heavily damaged by the jade flood dragon's pure physical strength. Only the materials were damaged, but the tool patterns weren't damaged. It could recover by itself slowly. Zhou Jingyuan also made a personal trip to deliver the medical legacy. The accumulation of tens of thousands of years in the state of Zhou was indeed extraordinary. There were dozens of beast skin books in the medical inheritance. When stacked together, they were more than 3 meters thick. It would take a lot of effort to sort them out. However, he didn't need to worry about it. When he brought it back to the clan, The cultivators in the clan's General Affairs Hall would take care of it. After this trip to the state of Zhou, he got what he wanted. There was no need to continue staying, so he bid farewell to Zhou Jingyuan. Zhou Jingyuan wanted to send a flying warship to send him back to the state of Zhao, but he refused. The jade flood dragon that Wang Daoyuan killed was a dragon species with an extremely high concentration of dragon blood. The materials of the jade flood dragon were all extremely precious. With the shameless style of the Netherworld sect, they would definitely use all kinds of reasons to make him hand over the flood dragon's corpse. Therefore, he first went to the treasured Cauldron Mountain and stayed in his master's cave for a few days. Then, he took the flying ship and returned to the clear glass market. This way, when the upper echelons of the Netherworld sect asked for the jade flood dragon's corpse, he could also say that he gave it to his master to help refine magic tools. Things were as he expected. Just as he flew to the southern end of the clear glass county, he received a message from Luo Jiuyo, ordering him to immediately rush to the Netherworld sect without delay. Under the eaves, he had to lower his head. After receiving the message, Wang Daoyuan left the Divine Weapon Pavilion's flying ship and rode the Windfire flying kite, rushing to the Netherworld sect's mountain gate. After Wang Daoyuan entered the mountain gate, he walked along the stone steps toward the great assembly hall. After entering the hall, he bowed and said, "Subordinate Wang Daoyuan greets the sect master." Luo Jiuyo's face was full of smiles. "Daoyuan, no need to be so courteous. You've been traveling in the southern wasteland for more than 30 years. Looks like your harvest is not small. To be able to confront the Jade Flood Dragon head-on and kill it. To be able to fight with a half-divine beast on the same level. You're a top genius. It's also a blessing for my Netherworld sect to have an elder like you." Wang Daoyuan hurriedly cupped his hands and said, "Sect master is too kind. I was just lucky to stab the gap between the Jade Flood Dragon's reverse scale. Even so, I was still seriously injured by the Jade Flood Dragon's fatal blow. If not for this luck, I'm afraid I would have lost my life." Luo Jiuyo smiled and said, "Daoyuan, no need to be so modest. To be able to force out the Jade Flood Dragon's weakness is also your ability. I wonder if the Jade Flood Dragon's corpse is still here?" A dignified sect master was actually so shameless, asking for the Jade Flood Dragon's corpse just like that. Wang Daoyuan cursed Luo Jiuyo's 18 generations of ancestors hundreds of times in his heart. However, his face was still very calm. He hurriedly apologized and said, "Replying to sect master before I came back, I asked master to help me refine a few magic artifacts. The Jade Flood Dragon's corpse is in my master's hands. I only have some scales and flood dragon blood on me." Before Luo Jiuyo said anything, a young-looking middle-stage Zifu realm cultivator opened his mouth and questioned, "That Jade Flood Dragon's pseudo-dragon pearl should still be in your hands, right?" Wang Daoyuan was furious at that time. This meant that he wanted him to hand over the pseudo-dragon pearl. The matter of him refining the 5 elements devil subduing seal was basically known to everyone. The pseudo-dragon pearl that he obtained after risking his life, this grandson wanted to take it away with just a sentence. A life-bound magic artifact was related to one's Dao path. To be able to make such a request, one could see how shameless this person was. Wang Daoyuan didn't hold back. He glanced at him and said coldly, "I killed the Jade Flood Dragon and almost lost my life in order to obtain the pseudo-dragon pearl to refine my life-bound magic artifact. Dao, you want to take away something that I exchanged with my life with just a sentence? If you really need the pseudo-dragon pearl, why not go to Zhou's Qianlong River? You can go to the Arctic Icefield or Myriad Dragon Mountain to hunt dragon species now." The young cultivator was rebuked and didn't say anything else. If he had the ability, he would have gone already. Luo Jiuyo mediated, "Hong Lai is young and ignorant. Daoyuan, please don't take offense. How much Jade Flood Dragon's blood essence and scales do you have? I'm willing to take out some treasures to exchange with you." This guy's name was Hong Lai, which was the same generation as Luo Hongming. He was most likely from the Luo clan. This guy questioned him like this, which basically represented the Luo clan's attitude. Wang Daoyuan replied, "After I killed the Jade Flood Dragon, I was also seriously injured. I didn't collect the corpse in time and lost a lot of blood. Now, I still have more than 150 kilograms of unrefined Flood Dragon blood and 500 scales." Luo Jiuyo nodded and said, "That's not a small amount. I'll give you 3 million contribution points. You can exchange for any Tier 3 spirit items in the sect's warehouse. Wang Daoyuan took out a few storage bags and bowed. Thank you for the reward, Sect Master. Chapter 490. A Purple Mansion elder stood up, took a few storage pouches and handed them to Luo Jiuyo. Luo Jiuyo opened the storage pouches and carefully looked at the things inside. He nodded and said, as expected of a green-scale flood dragon that's about to break through to the 4th rank. Ordinary blood that hasn't been refined yet has such powerful strength. In the 30 years since you left, the Supreme Grand Elder, Nether Sea Immortal, has passed away. Our Nether sect has lost a late gold core stage cultivator. Fortunately, the former refining hall master, Gu Wangzong, formed his Aurus core and the number of Aurus core stage cultivators in the sect didn't decrease. Now, Gu Wangzong is the deputy sect master of the Netherworld sect. The former refining hall master, Yin Chong, has been promoted to refining hall master. The position of deputy hall master is vacant. Your cultivation has reached the late Zifu stage and your refining skills aren't weak. You're a suitable candidate. However, some elders feel that it's not appropriate to promote you to deputy hall master since you've always been in an idle position. Wang Daoyuan definitely wasn't willing to be the deputy hall master of the refining hall. When Yin Chong was the deputy hall master, he was busy all day long. How could he have time to cultivate? He hurriedly cupped his hands and said, "Thank you for your kindness, sect master. However, the sect rules can't be broken. I'm still inexperienced and can't convince everyone. It's better to let other elders take over." Luo Jiuyo nodded with satisfaction. Daoyuan, you're really thinking for the sect. Now that you've reached the late Zifu stage, you're not suitable to be an idle elder. How about this? You'll first be the guardian of the sect's property for a few decades. When you have experience, you'll be the deputy hall master of the refining hall. The situation in Shanbei has been tense these past few years. We need someone powerful to oversee the situation. You'll be the guardian of Guiyan Market. Are you willing? This was an obvious suppression. Guiyan Market only had a 3rd-level low-grade spirit vein with no attributes. It wasn't enough for a mid-Zifu realm cultivator to cultivate. Wang Daoyuan was a late Zifu realm cultivator. His next goal was to prepare for the Aurus core stage. If he was placed in Guiyan Market, it would seriously affect his cultivation speed. Luo Jiuyo said to let him gain experience, but it wouldn't be the case after he took office. If he squatted in Guiyan Market for 200 years, the golden period of cultivation would be over. It would be difficult for him to form his Aurus core in the future. Even if he succeeded in forming his Azoth core, would the future of forming his Azoth core be the same as that of forming his Azoth core at 200? However, Wang Daoyuan did not mind. He had plenty of resources. The new batch of purple dragon pattern ginseng had also matured, and he had as many purple dragon pattern ginseng as he wanted. Even if he was thrown into a place devoid of spiritual energy, it would not affect his cultivation speed. If he stayed in Guiyan Market, he would have the authority of the Guardian and the ability to stir up the situation in Shanbei would be stronger. The Guardian Envoy was equivalent to the governor of the border and had quite a bit of autonomy. When he was free, he could also chat with Zhou Wan. Although he could only watch and not do anything, it was much better than staying in the mountain gate. He pretended to be reluctant, but he still nodded and said, "This subordinate will follow sect master's instructions." Luo Jiuyo nodded in satisfaction. "You killed the jade-scaled flood dragon this time, and your strength is comparable to a peak Zifu realm cultivator. You should have the title of unaffiliated cultivator. You made a name for yourself by killing the jade-scaled flood dragon. The density of the jade-scaled flood dragon's blood is extremely high. You can even call it a dragon. Why don't you call yourself Dragon-Slaying Rogue Cultivator?" Luo Jiuyo chose this title for a reason. The title of the strongest Grand Elder in Wanling sect was Imperial Dragon Zhenren, while his own title was Dragon Slayer. This was obviously going against him. However, Wang Daoyuan had no problem with this title. The jade-scaled flood dragon was publicly recognized as a half-divine beast, a natural flood dragon. Imperial Dragon Zhenren's green flood dragon was only a snake that transformed into a flood dragon. In terms of appearance, it was about the same as the silver flood dragon that appeared at the mouth of the Qianlong River. In terms of potential, It was even more incomparable to the jade-scaled flood dragon. If he could be called Imperial Dragon Zhenren, then Wang Daoyuan would naturally have no problem getting the title of Dragon Slayer after killing the jade-scaled flood dragon. Wang Daoyuan cupped his hands. Thank you for the title, Sect Master. Luo Zhuoyou smiled. Since you have no objections, then I'll call you that in the future. You left home for 30 years and were summoned by me as soon as you arrived in Qingli County. I won't keep you any longer. Go and hand over your duties, then return to your family to take a look. There are a few Purple Mansion elders overseeing Guiyan Market, so there's no big issue for now. It's fine if you go a few years later. Wang Daoyuan bowed. Thank you, Sect Master. I'll take my leave. After saying this, he left the conference hall. He had many things to do. He needed to go to the General Affairs Hall to receive the 3 million contribution points that Luo Zhuoyou promised. The Guiyan Market Guardian was under the jurisdiction of the Guardian Hall. He still needed to go to the Guardian Hall to receive his appointment. After that, he went to the treasury to exchange for some purple rhythm pills. The Netherworld sect didn't have many purple rhythm pills. They restricted cultivators from exchanging them, and the price was set very high, 10,000 contribution points per pill. Wang Daoyuan only exchanged for 50 pills, spending 500,000 contribution points. He didn't have much choice in refining materials and magic tools. He didn't have much use for level 3 magic tools. After exchanging for the purple rhythm pills, he went to the technique hall. Previously, he received guidance from his master and learned that after comprehending the charm, he could use level 4 magic techniques without condensing the phantom of a divine beast. He had already comprehended the charm of the white tiger, so he could cultivate a magic technique related to the white tiger. Unfortunately, the Netherworld sect was very strict with level 4 magic techniques. Unless one made a great contribution, they couldn't be exchanged for. Wang Daoyuan had just offered up the jade-scaled flood dragon's blood essence and scales, but he still couldn't exchange for them. This suppression was really comprehensive. Level 3 magic techniques couldn't enter his eyes, so he left the technique hall empty-handed. He rode the firestorm kite back to the Jade Spring Peak. There were also great changes in the Clear Glass County. The Yang family's ancestor, Yang Yong, had already passed away. Only Yang Yulin was left as an idle elder. The Wang family could be said to be the absolute overlord in the northern and central regions of the Clear Glass County. After Wang Daoyuan returned to the Jade Spring Peak, his third brother, Wang Daocheng, came out to welcome him. He had already established his Violet Palace realm. However, he was the only Violet Palace realm cultivator on the Jade Spring Peak. Currently, the most important person to the family was Wang Daoyuan. The second person wasn't the 12th uncle Wang Shui, but the third brother Wang Daocheng. Although his cultivation talent was much weaker than the 12th uncle's, it wasn't bad. His value was mainly in managing the family. Wang Daoyuan and the 12th uncle both had foresight, but didn't like to deal with practical matters. The third brother had a good foresight and was proficient in practical matters. He was the best candidate for the family head. After establishing his Violet Palace realm, he could still lead the family for another 300 years. After forming his gold core, with the third brother at the helm, the family's development would be much faster. Wang Daoyuan smiled. Congratulations, third brother, for establishing your Violet Palace realm. Wang Daocheng shook his head. There's nothing to congratulate. Our Wang family has 4 Violet Palace realm cultivators. My Violet Palace realm is only 2 inches long, and my Violet Palace realm phenomenon is only the Firewing Quail. It's much weaker than 5th uncle's dragonfish. Even so, I used the Yin-Yang purple jade you left behind. It was reasonable for an 8-inch primary spiritual root to have a Violet Palace realm phenomenon. However, the Violet Palace realm phenomenon was indeed a bit weak. The Firewing Quail was a fire attribute demonic bird of the Phoenix clan. However, its bloodline was extremely thin, and it could barely be considered a phoenix. Its status was similar to the Dragon clan's serpents. Wang Daoyuan waved his hand and said, "It's nothing. I don't have any use for the Yin-Yang purple jade. It's always a good thing for the family to have another Violet Palace realm. By the way, the 12th uncle isn't at the Jade Spring Peak. Did something happen?" Wang Daocheng sighed and said, "It's not that there's a problem, but that he's been assigned a position. The 12th uncle has taken over the position of Gold Goose City's guardian and is overseeing Gold Goose City. The Netherworld sect's intention to suppress our Wang family is becoming more and more obvious. The Gold Goose City's spirit vein was only a low-grade Tier 3 metal spirit vein. Putting the 12th uncle, a mid-stage Violet Palace realm cultivator, there was no doubt that it was a blatant suppression. Wang Daoyuan sighed and said, "Not only that, I've also been appointed as the guardian of Guiyan City. Now that the situation in Shanbei is unstable, the 12th uncle and I have been placed on the front lines. Once the demons and half-demons start fighting, our Wang family will be cannon fodder. There aren't many outsiders left, and they won't be able to make any big waves. Our Wang family has 4 Violet Palaces, and I'm a late-stage Violet Palace realm cultivator. We're much stronger than the Jin family. The Netherworld sect is starting to suppress our family." Chapter 491. Wang Daochong wasn't too worried about the Netherworld sect suppression. He smiled and said, "Fortunately, we made preparations beforehand and sent some talented clansmen to the elemental mystery realm. These years, the clan has been developing spirit fields. The cultivation resources of the clansmen below the Violet Palace realm are completely self-sufficient. The various resources produced by the clan are sold in the major markets without being affected. Apart from the Violet Palace realm cultivators having a hard time, the clan can still operate normally." Wang Daoyuan took out a large stack of beast skin books and said, "It's fine as long as the clan operates normally. This time, I went to the Zhou Empire and asked the Zhou Empire's crown prince for some medical inheritances that can treat mortal diseases. Ordinary people can practice them and give them to the General Affairs Hall to train doctors. The growth of our ordinary clansmen is too slow, and the biggest reason is because of diseases. If we can train a large number of doctors, the number of ordinary clansmen will increase rapidly in the future." Wang Daochong was overjoyed to see these medical inheritances. As the clan leader, he understood the situation of the clan's mortals the best. He also understood the value of medical inheritances the most. Wang Daoyuan asked, "I haven't been in charge of the clan's situation for decades. How many cultivators are there now?" Wang Daochong replied, "The clan's development in these decades has been very good. There are 800 to 900 cultivators in the clan. The original word generation left by the ancestor has been used up. 5th great uncle added another word generation. They are profound enlightening, righteous, evergreen. Now, it's the profound word generation. There are more than 500 people in the profound enlightening and righteous clansmen, and there are nearly 300,000 ordinary clansmen. Now that we have these medical inheritances, the growth of ordinary clansmen will be much faster in the future." When Wang Daoyuan had just left the mountain, there were only 60 or so cultivators in the clan. Now, there were nearly 1,000. He was also very happy and asked, "You are the most suitable person to be the clan leader among the few generations of our clan. With you in charge of the clan, I have nothing to worry about. Oh right, have you found your life-bound magic weapon? If not, I can help you make one." Wang Daochong replied, "Don't worry. Zhao Liang is already a 3rd-stage weapon refiner. With his help, my life-bound magic weapon has already been refined." Wang Daoyuan took out 50 purple rhythm pills and said, "The Jade Spring Peak Spirit Vein is not suitable for your cultivation. Purple rhythm pills cannot be missing." However, he had to hide his cultivation from the outside world. Otherwise, he would be suppressed even more. "I still need to refine the Azure Dragon Pearl, so I won't bother with family matters." Wang Daochong declined, "With my talent, the chances of me forming my core are slim. You should keep it for yourself." Wang Daoyuan smiled. "Don't worry about it. I obtained quite a few Violet Dragon Pattern Ginseng when I was out adventuring. I can refine enough Violet Dragon Pattern Ginseng to raise a few Violet Palace Realm cultivators to the peak of the Violet Palace Realm." Wang Daochong did not decline and accepted the purple rhythm pill. Wang Daoyuan returned to his abode and prepared to sacrifice the Azure Dragon Pearl. In the space of the Spirit Pearl, the 2 avatars of the refiners had already dealt with the corpse of the Jade Scale Flood Dragon. When he returned to the Treasure Tripod Mountain from the Zhou Nation, he had indeed left some materials for his master. "I've left more than 500 kilograms of Flood Dragon blood for my younger brother to refine his body." He still had more than 500 dragon scales left. With his master's help, he could definitely refine them into armor. The Flood Dragon's remaining Flood Dragon blood weighed more than 1,000 kilograms. Flood Dragon blood was an excellent material for refining one's body. However, Wang Daoyuan's body refinement path did not require the Flood Dragon's blood. The Flood Dragon's blood could be used to refine blood essence and nurture the blood lotus seed. It could also be used to refine pills to increase the density of the dragon's blood. He still had more than 1,000 dragon scales left, and the most important reverse scale was also in his hands. This reverse scale was slightly larger than ordinary Flood Dragon scales. It was about 3 inches in diameter and looked like golden glass. Its toughness was comparable to 4th grade low-grade Grand Unity Gold. If he hadn't stabbed his sword into the gap of the reverse scale, he might not have been able to break through its defense. There were complicated patterns on the reverse scale that seemed to be hiding some information. However, Wang Daoyuan couldn't understand them. He had cut off the dragon horn and kept it to refine Dharma artifacts in the future. His avatar had already taken out the pseudo-dragon pearl and used the Crimson Sun True Flame to remove the impurities. It was now being nurtured in the life spiritual fire. After the treatment, the pseudo-dragon pearl was about 6 inches in diameter. It was green all over, like a jasper bead, with a strong wood attribute spiritual energy fluctuation. Although the remaining part of the Flood Dragon was also very precious, Wang Daoyuan did not plan to refine any more Dharma artifacts. Instead, he buried it next to the wood attribute spiritual vein. Legend had it that after the death of a true dragon, its corpse could turn into a spiritual vein. The concentration of the blood of the Flood Dragon was not low. He did not expect it to turn into a spiritual vein. As long as it could be integrated into the spiritual vein, the wood attribute spiritual vein could carry a trace of dragon chi. Due to the lack of dragon chi in the spiritual pearl, the planted jade dragon algae could only barely survive. If he could make the wood attribute spiritual vein carry a trace of dragon chi, the jade dragon algae could evolve in the future. Those Qing River carps might also become dragon species. Although the value of a dead flood dragon's corpse was extremely high, it was still far inferior to a living dragon species. Unfortunately, dragon species were extremely difficult to subdue, especially this kind of dragon that was born as a flood dragon. Otherwise, Wang Daoyuan would really be reluctant to kill it. After the corpse of the flood dragon was dealt with, Wang Daoyuan began to refine the Azure Dragon Pearl. The flood dragon was originally from the Azure Dragon bloodline, so its pseudo-dragon pearl was the most suitable for refining the Azure Dragon Pearl. The Azure Dragon Pearl was also the easiest of the 5 natal Dharma artifacts to refine. It only needed a pseudo-dragon pearl, no supplementary materials, and no forging. After removing the impurities, it would be absorbed into the body, condense the tool pattern, and the rest would be nourishment. In just half a year, Wang Daoyuan had completed the refinement of the Azure Dragon Pearl. Since the Flood Dragon was an upper-grade rank 3 Dharma artifact and the Pseudo-Dragon Pearl was also an upper-grade rank 3 Dharma artifact, the Azure Dragon Pearl refined was naturally an upper-grade rank 3 Dharma artifact. He took out a fierce blood pig and used the Azure Dragon Pearl to extract its vitality. A white mist floated out of the fierce blood pig, and half a breath later, it collapsed on the ground. He put the fierce blood pig back into the spiritual pearl and carefully observed the Azure Dragon Pearl. He found that there was an additional wisp of white mist inside. This wisp of mist was nothing in the Azure Dragon Pearl. In order to fill up the Azure Dragon Pearl, he needed more than 100 wisps of mist. Wang Daoyuan tried to use this wisp of mist to heal himself. He took out another fierce blood pig and made a 1-foot-long cut on its body. Then, he activated the Azure Dragon Pearl. After a breath, the wound was completely healed, and only 1/10 of the mist was used. He injured the fierce blood pig and activated the Azure Dragon Pearl to heal it. This time, the effect was not as good, but it was still much better than when he didn't have the Azure Dragon Pearl. When he used the Azure Dragon Pearl to heal himself, he didn't need to take it out at all. The Azure Dragon Pearl directly released vitality from the Dantian, and its healing effect should be much better. He could also control the Azure Dragon Pearl to refine the white mist and achieve the effect of nourishing Dharma artifacts. In this way, even if he had more white mist than he could use, it wouldn't go to waste. Wang Daoyuan's wood attribute spiritual energy had some vitality. The Azure Dragon Pearl could also extract some white mist from his wood attribute spiritual energy. In his original sacrificial refining method, there was a spell to release the Azure Dragon's phantom and absorb vitality. Wang Daoyuan also tried to condense a 3-foot-long azure dragon's phantom. There wasn't enough space in the cave, otherwise, he could condense a 200-foot-long azure dragon's phantom. The azure dragon's phantom could absorb the vitality of multiple targets at the same time, and its killing range was about 100 feet. With this thing, he wouldn't be afraid of getting hurt when he went out in the future. As long as he wasn't beaten to the point of losing the ability to activate Dharma artifacts, he could quickly recover a certain amount of combat power. A few days after refining the Azure Dragon Pearl, he received a message from Xueqi. You haven't come back for more than 30 years, and you don't know how to pay me a visit. The headquarters sent another yin-yang purple jade. If you don't want it, I'll use it to train my subordinates. Wang Daoyuan naturally didn't mind having more yin-yang purple jade. On the surface, the Wang family had more than a dozen foundation establishment cultivators, but in fact, there were nearly 30. There were 2 peak foundation establishment cultivators. One was his second brother, Wang Daoxing, and the other was his 27th brother, Wang Daojian. There were also 5 or 6 late-stage foundation establishment cultivators, and they could use as many treasures as they wanted. Chapter 492. Wang Daoyuan immediately replied to Xueqi, telling her to keep the yin-yang purple jade and that he would go there right away. He left the Jade Spring Peak on his sword, hid his aura, and headed for the Jade Pine Mountain Cave. Then he sneaked away from the cave. Along the way, he checked the situation of Fallen Dragon Ridge. Now, the entire Fallen Dragon Ridge had been taken over by the clan. There were 5 foundation establishment cultivators guarding this 1,000-kilometer-long mountain range. Now, the clan already had 3 superior second-rank formation masters. His 26th uncle, Wang Shouja, was quite talented in formations and was now a 3rd-rank formation master. Fallen Dragon Ridge was also covered with formations. The entire Fallen Dragon Ridge was developed, and it wouldn't be difficult to support more than 1,000 cultivators. The only flaw was that the spirit veins in Fallen Dragon Ridge were only 2nd-rank superior and couldn't be used to set up 3rd-rank formations. Once 3rd-rank demonic beasts invaded, only Zifu realm cultivators could be dispatched. Wang Daoyuan didn't have time to improve his formation skills, so he was still a 3rd-rank formation master. If he could improve his formation skills to 3rd-rank superior, he could extract the origin of other spirit veins to replenish the spirit veins in Fallen Dragon Ridge. If too much of the origin of a spirit vein was extracted, its grade would drop. The Netherworld sect had extracted a large amount of the origin of Jade Spring Peak spirit vein, causing it to drop from 4th-rank middle to 3rd-rank superior. However, the foundation of Jade Spring Peak spirit vein was still there. If he could extract the origin of a high-rank water attribute spirit vein to replenish the spirit vein of Jade Spring Peak, it wouldn't be impossible to restore the spirit vein to its previous level. Of course, he definitely couldn't do it now, because the Netherworld sect was suppressing the Wang family. If he wanted to restore Jade Spring Peak spirit vein, he would have to wait until he formed his core. After taking a big detour, he arrived at the northern mountain branch of Guiyan Market. After entering Xueqi's cave, the door was immediately closed, and the formation inside the cave was instantly activated. Then, a fiery red long sword flew towards him, pointing at his forehead. Wang Daoyuan clasped the tip of the sword with his right hand. Hallmaster, we haven't seen each other for more than 30,000 years. Isn't it a little inappropriate to fight as soon as we meet? Xueqi walked out from the backyard of the Immortal's cave and coldly snorted. I heard that the Princess of Zhou country is a famous beauty of the present age. You lecher, you can't move after seeing Zhou Jingyan, right? Why didn't he stay in the Zhou country to be a concubine? She didn't like you? Wang Daoyuan laughed and said, what a strong smell of jealousy. Xueqi glared at him. Nothing good comes out of a dog's mouth. My nephew is stupid enough to think that you are a gentleman. Wang Daoyuan was a little confused and asked, what nephew? Xueqi replied, I'm also a member of the Zhou family. According to seniority, Zhou Jingyuan is my nephew. This brat is really too stupid, treating you as a gentleman and saying that to everyone. Hearing this, Wang Daoyuan laughed and said, Zhou Jingyuan really has a discerning eye for heroes. He knows that I'm a gentleman. We're both surnamed Zhou, but your eyes are far from mine. I didn't expect you and Emperor Zhou to be related by seniority. This brat even wants me to be his brother-in-law. The next time I see him, I'll teach this big nephew well as his uncle. Zhou face turned red and spat. "Lecher, shameless, you still dare to call yourself a gentleman." Wang Daoyuan complained. "I've lived here for more than 10 years and nothing happened. Am I not a gentleman? If I'm not a gentleman, I'm afraid that in these 10 years, I would have given birth to a Kong bed. I really don't have romantic affairs. I don't deserve the reputation of being a romantic." Zhou saw how thick his skin was and knew that personality attacks were ineffective. She turned to ridicule. "Cowardly rat, do you have the ability?" Hearing this, Wang Daoyuan was unhappy. "Hallmaster, you have to be clear. I'll tolerate it if you say that I'm a cowardly rat. I won't tolerate it if you say that I don't have the ability." Seeing that he was anxious, Zhou smiled proudly. "As far as I know, body-refining cultivators squeeze out their body's potential and cripple a lot of them. In just a little over 30 years, your body has become so strong. Don't tell me you also practice this kind of cultivation technique? Whether or not I have the ability, words don't count." Wang Daoyuan said angrily, "If it wasn't for core formation, how could I let you be so rampant?" Zhou was a bit puzzled. Ordinary people don't have a primordial yang body, so core formation isn't affected much. In that case, you also have a special constitution. Why can't I see it? Wang Daoyuan was stunned. In that case, you have a special constitution? That's right. The Zhou clan has the bloodline of phoenixes and humans with the bloodline of divine beasts, so it's easy for them to have special constitutions. In addition, your family's ancestors produced a lot of Yuanian cultivators with divine abilities, so it's normal for you to have a special constitution. My special constitution was crippled before I was born, so I don't look any different from ordinary people. When it comes to core formation, the effect is still very big." Zhou said thoughtfully. "A special constitution crippled before you were born? A postnatal spiritual body? Postnatal spiritual bodies have very strong comprehension abilities. No wonder you can master all 4 Daos and learn a lot of magic techniques without affecting your cultivation speed." Wang Daoyuan answered. "Okay, don't make wild guesses. I really do have a postnatal spiritual body. Keep the yin-yang purple jade for me. I still have important things to do. Do you need anything else?" Zhou looked disappointed. "You just came back. Where are you going? Are you still going to the southern wasteland?" Wang Daoyuan took out a jade talisman and gave it to her. "It's not far this time. You can contact me with this." Those bastards from the Netherworld sect suppressed the Wang family and arranged for me to be the guardian of Guiyan Market. After I take over, I can't leave for too long. There are some important things I need to do before I take over." After he finished speaking, he looked at Zhou with a mischievous smile. "How about you accompany me there? That place is quite suitable for fire attribute cultivators to cultivate. With a stunning beauty accompanying me, I won't be bored." Zhou ignored his verbal flirting. Her face was full of joy as she took pleasure in his misfortune. "Whenever you have free time, you run all over the place. Now you've been restrained by the Netherworld sect. However, your perception abilities are really bad. You can't even see through my cultivation level. My spiritual power cultivation has no room for improvement now. What I lack is comprehension. With comprehension, I can quickly reach the peak of the Zifu realm. Without any comprehension, no matter how good the cultivation ground was, it was useless. The branch can't be left without a Zifu realm cultivator to guard it for a long time. The vice hallmaster ran away, so I have to take care of the affairs of the entire branch." Wang Daoyuan used his divine sense and said with a smile, "When I came in, my attention was elsewhere. I didn't pay attention to hallmaster's cultivation level." Zhou saw that he was staring at her, so she took back her life-bound magic artifact and was about to cut him. Wang Daoyuan immediately admitted defeat. "Hallmaster, please show mercy. I just didn't expect you to cultivate so fast." Zhou said proudly, "With the face-retaining pill, I don't need to use my vital essence to maintain my appearance. Coupled with the resources I got from you, my cultivation speed is naturally fast. I don't need the purple rhythm pill and dragon heart fruit now. Give me 200 jars of spirit peach dew and 20 black jade lotus seeds in exchange. I can give you the yin-yang purple jade." Wang Daoyuan didn't even think about it and gave it to her. Zhou took out the yin-yang purple jade and handed it to him. "You usually have to bargain. Why are you so straightforward this time? Wang Daoyuan took the yin-yang purple jade and said with a smile, "We'll be family sooner or later. Why are you so clear about it? By the way, don't fan the flames between the demon race and half-demon race in the future. Now that our netherworld sect is suppressing them, once things get out of hand, our family will be cannon fodder." After flirting with Zhou Wan a few more times, he left the underground branch. Hiding his figure, he took a big circle of tens of thousands of miles and came to the karst cave where he was looking for the Gui water nether flame. In the deepest part of the karst cave, there was a ready-made magma lake that could be used to condense the fire attribute pseudo-spiritual fire. The Gui water nether spring could condense the water attribute pseudo-spiritual fire. In the space of the spiritual pearl, the Tai golden flame was about to reach the third level of the upper grade. The 5 spiritual fires were of the same grade. After the pseudo-spiritual fire was condensed, he could refine the spiritual fire into his body. Now, without refining the spiritual fire, his cultivation speed was comparable to that of a 2 spiritual root cultivator with an 8-inch main spiritual root. After refining the spiritual fire, his cultivation speed was definitely not inferior to that of a heavenly spiritual root. A heavenly spiritual root cultivator could form a golden core without relying on core formation spiritual objects. Chapter 493. When Wang Daoyuan arrived at the underground cave 1,000 miles southeast of the mysterious Yin Spring, he couldn't help but sigh. Back then, he was only in the early stage of foundation establishment when he was cornered by that Wu brat in the mysterious Yin market. Now that more than 100 years had passed, he was already in the late stage of the Purple Mansion realm. He wondered if those people from the mysterious Yin market were still there. With the soul-chasing bee leading the way, he soon arrived at the cave where he found the earth vein spiritual essence. Back then, he used the earth wall technique to seal the stone wall, which wasn't very strong. Without using the dust-returning flame, he punched a hole in the stone wall. He walked into the stone room and looked at the place where the earth vein spiritual essence was produced. After more than 100 years, it still didn't produce a drop of earth vein spiritual essence. The earth vein spiritual essence here wasn't very useful to him anymore. There weren't any non-elemental spiritual veins in the spiritual pearl. It was useless to cut off the stalactite and take it away. He decided to come again when he had a non-elemental spiritual vein in the future. His target was the lava lake in the stone room. The lava mainly contained fire and earth spiritual energy, with a small amount of other spiritual energy. Wang Daoyuan drew out a wisp of red sun primordial fire and a wisp of dust-returning flame from the spiritual pearl and placed them in the lava. The lava under the entire Beiyuan Xiuxian was connected. The fire and earth elemental spiritual energy within it could be said to be inexhaustible. Moreover, using spiritual fire to burn the lava was much faster than burning stones. The 2 flames burned fiercely as soon as they came into contact with the lava and soon covered the entire lava lake. The red sun primordial fire couldn't burn away from the lava lake. On the other hand, if the dust-returning flame was left alone, the surrounding stone walls would suffer. Wang Daoyuan constantly drew out the essence of the dust-returning flame. A part of it was used for cultivation, but most of it was used to nourish the earth's spiritual fire. Half a month later, he took out a sesame-sized red sun primordial fire from the spiritual pearl and threw it into the lava lake. The fire seed absorbed the essence of the flame to stabilize itself. The red sun primordial fire could only burn in the lava lake, which was only a few acres in size. The fire seed could draw spiritual energy from the surrounding flames. It only took 2 hours for the fire seed to stabilize. This speed was dozens of times faster than when they were burning the stone walls and mineral veins. Wang Daoyuan also took out the earth attribute pseudo-spiritual fire and placed it in the lava lake. He originally wanted to leave after condensing the pseudo-spiritual fire, but now, he was somewhat reluctant to do so. The growth speed of these 2 pseudo-spirit fires far exceeded that of the wood attribute pseudo-spirit fire. It just so happened that this place was very safe. When the pseudo-spiritual fire was formed, he would refine the spiritual fire here. After staying here for a year, the fire seed of the fire-attributed pseudo-spirit flame was already the size of 2 sesame seeds. The fire seed of the earth attribute pseudo-spiritual fire was already half the size of a green bean. He did not need to care about the 2 pseudo-spiritual fires. Every day, other than cultivating, he would use the communication jade talisman to flirt with Zhou Wan. There was also good news in the space of the Spirit Pearl. The Tai Golden Flame had finally become an upper-grade level 3 spiritual fire after burning through more than 10,000 kilograms of black iron crystals. As long as he could condense the water attribute pseudo-spiritual fire, he could refine the spiritual fire. The red-feathered crow finally grew a golden red feather on its tail. Its spirit energy fluctuation was very strong, and it also had a rich pure yang qi and fire attribute spirit energy. However, the feather had just grown out and was only about 3 inches long. It was far from enough to refine the vermilion bird fan. However, since it had already grown out, it was only a matter of time. He just had to wait slowly. Wang Daoyuan took out his clone Cui Ming from the space of the Spirit Pearl. He asked him to watch the 2 pseudo-spiritual fires near the magma lake. Wang Daoyuan himself went to the Gue water nether spring to condense the water attribute pseudo-spiritual fire. The straight-line distance from the Gue water nether spring to this place was only a little more than 1,000 miles. Wang Daoyuan could completely sense the clone in a panoramic view. If there were any problems, he could quickly rush over. The fire seed of the earth attribute pseudo-spiritual fire was strong enough to suppress the flames and would not burn everywhere. Wang Daoyuan left the magma lake and soon arrived near the Gue water nether spring. Back then, in order to block the spring, the stone wall condensed with the earth wall technique was still intact. The yin qi that he could not bear at that time had no effect on him now. There was no need to destroy the stone wall with the Gue water nether flame's pseudo-spiritual fire. Back then, he dug an underground space to draw the spring water. At the entrance of the space, he opened up a small hole half an inch in diameter. The spring water quickly spurted out from the small hole. The amount of water was not large. In a breath, it could only produce 20 to 30 pounds of water. In a breath, the Gue water nether spring could produce a few hundred pounds of water. The amount of water drawn out would not cause too much of an impact on the water vein. Now that the underworld sect felt the threat of the old family, if there was a problem with the water vein here, it would cause the yin qi of the nether water river at the underworld sect's mountain gate to disappear. In a panic, this group of grandsons may attack the cultivators of the old family. As the leader of the old family, the Wang family would definitely suffer heavy losses. This Gue water nether spring was a grade 4 spirit spring with extremely rich spiritual qi. It could not be more suitable to condense the water attribute pseudo-spiritual fire. 20 to 30 pounds of water in a breath was enough. Wang Daoyuan drew out a wisp of the Gue water nether flame to ignite the spring water. The spring water and the Gue water nether flame came from the same source. It was suitable for the Gue water nether flame to burn. The 20 to 30 pounds of spring water that gushed out in a breath could not flow anywhere else. It was all burned by the flame and turned into flame essence. Half a month later, Wang Daoyuan took out the sesame-sized Gue water nether flame and merged it into the black flame in front of him. The Gue water nether spring was indeed a grade 4 spirit spring. The growth rate of the water attribute pseudo-spiritual fire was even faster than the 2 pseudo-spiritual fires in the lava lake. In just over an hour, the pseudo-spiritual fire stabilized. Wang Daoyuan was not in a hurry to leave. Instead, he let the pseudo-spiritual fire absorb more spiritual energy. After all, the reason why the pseudo-spiritual fire had the word pseudo was because it was not stable enough. Especially the newly formed water attribute pseudo-spiritual fire, it was only slightly stronger than the rootless fire without a fire seed. If it encountered a greater disturbance, it was very likely to be extinguished. After the spiritual fire was refined, the pseudo-spiritual fire would be extinguished. At that time, it would be troublesome to take out the refined spiritual fire and condense the pseudo-spiritual fire. There was no need to wait for all the pseudo-spiritual fires to grow into spiritual fires. As long as their fire seeds were half the size of a green bean, they would not be extinguished easily. At the same time, he also made some preparations to refine the spiritual fire. Although the refining method of the spiritual fire left by the 5 elements Taoist would almost never cause a backlash from the spiritual fire, it was still better to be safe. After all, the 5 elements Taoist only refined the dust-returning flame when he was at the early Jindan stage. At that time, his physical body was much stronger than his. Before that, he still had to do his best to increase the strength of his physical body. He took out a blood lotus seed. This was a treasure that could strengthen the physical body. Previously, he had also asked the flying sand cultivator about how to use it. At the Treasure Cauldron Mountain, He had also asked his master about the blood lotus seed. This thing could be directly consumed without worrying about being affected by the demonic qi and blood qi. Wang Daoyuan's own spiritual energy contained various special attributes. Furthermore, the 5 elements demon subduing seal could restrain the demon race. Even if there was some demonic qi in the blood lotus seed, it would not be able to create any big waves. After swallowing a blood lotus seed, before refining it, the blood lotus seed would turn into pure qi and blood and merge into the blood of the body. Wang Daoyuan immediately circulated the body tempering technique of the 5 spirits immortal art. He used the 5 elements spiritual energy to nourish his internal organs and meridians, and then his entire body. It took him more than a month to completely consume the qi and blood force. It took a year for the effects of the blood lotus seed to subside. At this moment, Wang Daoyuan could defeat an ordinary late-stage Zifu realm cultivator with just the strength of his physical body. The fire seed of the pseudo-spiritual fire was half the size of a green bean and would not be extinguished easily. Everything was ready. It was time to refine the spiritual fire. Chapter 494. Wang Daoyuan stored the water attribute pseudo-spirit fire into the space of the spirit pearl and placed it in the water attribute spirit vein. He used the earth mountain technique to block the small hole that gushed out of the spring water. Then, he left the Gue water nether spring and returned to the lava lake. After storing the fire and earth pseudo-spirit fires into the space of the spirit pearl, the fire seed of the fire attribute pseudo-spirit fire was already half the size of a green bean. However, the fire seed of the earth attribute pseudo-spirit fire did not increase by much. The bigger the fire seed, the harder it was to continue growing. Coupled with the fact that the fire seed's restrictions on the spirit fire increased, the growth of the pseudo-spirit fire would obviously slow down. After the fire seed was half the size of a green bean, it could not grow rapidly no matter how many resources were used. It could only be slowly ground down with time under the premise of sufficient resources. If not for that, perfected Lord 100 spirits would not have taken 200 years to condense the scarlet yang true fire. Putting away his doppelganger, he meditated by the lava lake to adjust his condition to the best state. Among the 5 elemental spirit fires, the wood attribute spiritual fire was the most gentle. He started refining with it. From the space of the spirit pearl, he drew out a wisp of life spiritual fire. This time, he did not extract the spirit energy within. Instead, he guided the wisp of spiritual fire into his dantian through his meridians and finally merged it with the wood attribute spiritual power seed. This was to first integrate a wisp of rootless fire and let the spiritual power seed fuse with it. After that, he guided the fire seed into his body and fused it with the spiritual power seed. This way, there would not be any rejection. A day later, his entire wood attribute spiritual power seed was slowly burning. The spiritual power seed and rootless fire could be considered to have successfully fused. Then, he converted all the spirit energy in his body into metal attribute spirit energy. Once the life spiritual fire was noisy, he could use his spirit energy to suppress it. Next, it was time to guide the life spiritual fire. However, the life spiritual fire grew from the peach tree sapling and merged with the top bud of the sapling. To refine the spiritual fire, he had to separate the fire seed first. Wang Daoyuan's spirit entered the space of the spirit pearl. As the owner of the space, he had a certain degree of control over the things in the space. Although he did not refine the spiritual fire, no spiritual fire dared to be arrogant in the space. His spirit released the power of spirit consciousness and separated the life spiritual fire from the peach tree sapling. The sapling and the life spiritual fire did not resist much and separated. He controlled the life spiritual fire to leave the space of the spirit pearl and followed his meridians to his dantian. Then, he fused it into the wood elemental spiritual power seed. Since the wood attributed spiritual power seed had already turned into a rootless flame, it didn't reject the flame of life. After that, the entire spiritual power seed burned intensely, constantly consuming the spiritual power seed. Wang Daoyuan immediately used the secret method to refine the spiritual fire, completely fusing the spiritual fire seed and the spiritual energy seed into one. If the spirit power seed could not be fused with the fire seed before it was exhausted, then the refinement would fail. However, the life spiritual fire had never been troublesome. It was completely controlled by Wang Daoyuan without much struggle. Half a month later, the the tinder of the flame of life had completely merged with the spiritual energy seed and completely replaced the previous seed. The structure of the wood elemental spiritual power seed was the same as before, except that the wood elemental spiritual power with life force had changed to the origin of spiritual fire. Once the fusion was complete, the refinement would be a success. Refining the life spirit fire did not cause any problems. His body did not suffer any damage either. After refining the first spiritual fire, the rest was simple. The second target was the dust-returning flame. Among the 5 elements, wood countered earth. Since he had already refined the life spirit fire, he was not afraid that the dust-returning flame would cause trouble. Once there was an abnormality, he could use the life spirit fire to suppress the dust-returning flame. Before that, he first converted all the spiritual power in his body into wood elemental to prevent the dust-returning flame from causing trouble. The method was the same. First, he fused the rootless flame with the spiritual power seed, then the tinder. Because the dust-returning flame was corrosive, he first used the life spirit fire to envelop his meridians when moving it from the space of the spiritual pearl into his dantian. After the dust-returning flame left the space of the spiritual pearl, it began to burn intensely. Wang Daoyuan quickly mobilized his spiritual power to suppress the dust-returning flame. The fire quickly subsided and smoothly entered his dantian. The spiritual fire was called spiritual fire because it had a trace of spirituality. Although it could not be considered sentient, it would still seek advantages and avoid disadvantages. During the fusion process, the dust-returning flame felt threatened and wanted to resist. However, it was all wood elemental spiritual power in his dantian, without a trace of earth elemental spiritual power. The dust-returning flame was isolated and helpless. Under the dual suppression of the spirit consciousness and the life spirit fire, the dust-returning flame yielded. This time, it took a longer time and took a month to complete the refinement. Next was the Gui water death flame. Earth countered water and water countered wood. Under the dual suppression of the life spirit fire and the dust-returning flame, the Gui water death flame could only accept its fate. Back then, when he first obtained the Gui water death flame, he nearly lost his life. However, after the Gui water death flame was kept in the space of the spiritual pearl, it was subdued by the life spirit fire and the dust-returning flame. The refinement method was the same. However, the Gui water death flame was more wild and wanted to resist after leaving the space of the spiritual pearl. Under the suppression of the 2 spiritual fires, it did not cause any big waves. A month later, the Gui water death flame was also refined. After that, it was the scarlet yang true fire and the Tai golden flame. With the suppression of multiple spiritual fires, they did not cause any trouble. 2 months later, the refinement of the 5 spiritual fires was completed. Wang Daoyuan circulated the 5 spirit immortal transformation technique and a spirit chi wind appeared in the cave immediately. As soon as the spirit chi from the outside world was absorbed into his dantian, the 5 spiritual power seeds ignited it and quickly refined it. In terms of the speed of refining spirit chi into spirit chi, the celestial spirit root was not qualified to compete with him. The refined spirit chi was extremely pure and he tried to condense it into vital essence. The spiritual power seeds could not help in this step, but because of the purity of the spirit chi, the speed was not much worse than the average celestial spirit root. There were also differences between celestial spirit roots. A 9-inch single spirit root was a celestial spirit root and a 1-foot single spirit root was also a celestial spirit root. The difference between the two was not small. From the time the spirit chi entered the body to the time it was condensed into vital essence, the time it took was considered average among celestial spirit root cultivators. In other words, his overall cultivation speed was comparable to a celestial spirit root cultivator with a 9.5-inch spirit root. As for the speed of recovering spirit chi, the celestial spirit root was not qualified to compete with him, unless it was a celestial spirit root that had refined the spiritual fire. The spiritual fire also had an extremely strong growth potential. Now, these spiritual fires were only 3rd level upper grade. When they grew to 4th level in the future, the speed of refining spirit chi would definitely increase. At this time, the spirit chi in Wang Daoyuan's body could be transformed between spiritual fire and spirit chi. Transforming the metal attribute spirit chi into the Tai golden flame and casually using the golden saber technique, the small saber condensed was completely composed of the rootless fire of the Tai golden flame. This was not strange. The purple lightning from the purple lightning evil punishing token was also burning with purple flames. Cultivators with spiritual fire all had this ability. However, his dust-returning flame and Gue water death flame had special functions. One could corrode all substances, and the other could burn the divine sense and soul. Transforming the earth attribute spirit chi and water attribute spirit chi into spiritual fire and using an ordinary sand flying technique, the sky would be filled with dust-returning flame. Using the cloud mist escape would have similar effects. Together with the Suzaku fan and the heaven-burning divine flame technique, the spiritual fire alone could completely defeat those of the same level. Now that he had refined the spiritual fire, according to this cultivation speed, his spirit chi cultivation could reach the peak of the Purple Mansion realm in more than 10 years, which was Zhou Wan's current state. After that, he could find an excuse to go to his master and comprehend the Golden Core realm. In the space of the spiritual pearl, the concentration of spirit chi had decreased significantly after losing 5 spiritual fires. Previously, it was very close to the level of 4th level spirit vein, but now it was only at the beginning of 3rd level upper grade. However, the life spiritual fire seed fire and the 4 pseudo-spiritual fires had replaced the spiritual fire. Now that there was no spiritual fire to compete with them for spirit chi, their growth speed was obviously faster. It seemed that it would take at most 5 or 6 years for all of them to become real spiritual fires. Chapter 495. After fusing with the spiritual fire, there would be a flaw, and that was that it would be very difficult to suppress the spiritual power seed. The special attributes of the 5 elemental spiritual energies would be particularly obvious, and others would easily discover that his spiritual energies were very heterogeneous. A cultivator with mixed spiritual power who wasn't an evil cultivator, anyone could guess that it was him. If he wanted to hide his identity, he could only wear the soul-binding silk Taoist robe at all times. After forming the golden core, it didn't matter anymore. With the 5 elemental spiritual fire and the 5 elemental devil subduing seal, even a golden core late-stage cultivator would not be able to take him down easily. The half-step yuanying was something that only the 4 top forces had. They wouldn't appear so easily. At that time, even if it was exposed that he had the spiritual fire, no one would be able to do anything to him. It was only during this period of time before he formed his gold core that he had to act like a grandson. Wang Daoyuan left the underground cave and hid his tracks before returning to his family. He handed the Yin-Yang cub to his 3rd brother, Wang Daocheng, and asked him to arrange for suitable clansmen to open up their Zifu. Then, he headed to the sky/mountain range again. This time, he wasn't heading towards returning Wild Goose Market, but towards the heavenly/mountain range's main vein. It was time to explore the passage left behind by the 10,000 Corpse Taoist master. Of course, he would not be the one to explore it. His clone, Zhang Ping, would be the one to do so. Zhang Ping was a half-corpse and didn't have many years left to live. Instead of letting him die of old age, he might as well use his remaining energy to explore the way. The myriad Corpse Taoist master didn't have much information about that place in the vast ocean records. He only knew that it was made up of river valleys and alluvial plains, similar to Linhai Prefecture. However, it was shrouded in clouds all year round. The closer it was to the sea, the thicker the clouds. He wasn't too sure about the specifics. Zhang Ping was at the late-stage Violet Palace realm. Thus, it was very likely that he would succeed in exploring this path. Wang Daoyuan erased all of Zhang Ping's memories and gave him a few defensive Dharma artifacts and a soul-binding silk cloak. Even if the exploration failed, they would only lose a sub-soul. If he succeeded, he would be able to figure out the situation east of the heaven/mountain range without having to take any risks himself. In the future, if he were to develop in that direction, he would be able to take fewer detours. North of Mount Huyen, about 1,000 kilometers away from the heavenly/mountain range's main mountain range, he released Zhang Ping and returned to Jade Spring Peak. The matter of taking office in Guiyan City Square could not be delayed any longer. It had been more than 2 years since he accepted the appointment. If this dragged on, those bastards from the local faction would probably make things difficult for him. Setting off from the Jade Spring Peak, he swaggered towards Gold Goose City to visit the 12th uncle, who was stationed there, and left him 50 purple rhythm pills. Then, he flew to Guiyan Market. The former guardian already knew that Wang Daoyuan had swaggered over. The previous protector was a local cultivator of the Netherworld School, a middle Zifu disciple named Ming Huai. He was a disciple of the Dark Sea Master's family. Before the Dark Sea Master passed away, he was the strongest person in the underworld sect. The Ming family was also in the limelight. Ming Huai relied on Ming Hai Zhenren's strength to obtain the position of guardian of returning wild goose market. Now that the situation in Shanbei had changed, the guardian of Guiyan market had become a hot potato. Ming Huai had wanted to leave long ago, but Ming Hai's spiritual master had passed away, and the Ming family's status was not as good as before. It would be difficult for Ming Huai to transfer him away. Now the Netherworld sect began to suppress the family, and placed Wang Daoyuan here. Ming Huai was impatient to have the chance to leave this troublesome place. When Wang Daoyuan arrived at the Netherworld sect's encampment, Ming Huai led 4 Zifu disciples out to welcome him. In the past, Guiyan market only had 1 Zifu disciple overseeing it. Ever since the 3 sects stopped fighting and wanted to deal with the Guiyuan sword sect, they increased their strength in Guiyan market. In these years, Guiyan market had always had 5 Zifu disciples and 30 foundation establishment cultivators. Ming Huai greeted, "Manager Wang has finally arrived. I've been waiting for a long time. Please come in and have a seat." Wang Daoyuan followed Ming Huai into the encampment. Ming Huai handed several beast skin books to Wang Daoyuan. "Manager Wang, these are the account books left behind by the previous guardians of returning wild goose market. The top book is from when I was in charge." Wang Daoyuan took the beast skin book, and only flipped through the top book. Then, Ming Huai brought him to the treasury, and compared the remaining items to see if they matched the contents of the account books. As long as the account books matched the items, nothing else mattered. As for what Ming Huai did to the account books, it was not his responsibility. If there were any problems in the future, it would not be his fault. After confirming that there were no mistakes, Ming Huai handed over the guardian seal and the treasury key, and said with a smile, "The position of guardian will be completely handed over to Manager Wang. The factions in Guiyan market are intricate and complicated. Our Netherworld sect is one of them. The half-demons and demons each have one, and there is also a small human faction in Shanbei. The small human factions are weak and do not dare to provoke our Netherworld sect, so there is no need to care about them. The demons and half-demons are strong and need to be dealt with carefully. Manager Wang should have heard of the conflict between the 2 sides. You must not provoke them." He was too clear about the demons and half-demons. Originally, the conflict between the 2 factions was not too big, but he and Zhou Wan had been fanning the flames, causing the conflict between the 2 sides to escalate. Now, Zhou Wan had stopped, so the demons and half-demons should not fight for a while. Before he formed his core, he had to prioritize stability and try not to cause any trouble. Wang Daoyuan nodded. "Don't worry, I know the severity of the matter. I will not get involved in the matters between half-demons and demons." Ming Huai smiled. "In that case, I can rest assured. I have already told you what I wanted to tell you. Goodbye." After sending Ming Huai off, Wang Daoyuan also got to know his subordinates. Of the 4 Zifu realm cultivators who stayed in Guiyan market, 2 were from the old family and 2 were cultivators from outside. Among the cultivators from the family, there was a familiar person. This person was called Jiang Jingming. After the battle at Wuqing Pass, Jiang Jingming brought him to the Netherworld sect to receive his reward. Along the way, the 2 of them talked quite a bit. Jiang Jingming's Jiang family was in the south of Qingli County. There was no outstanding person among the Jiang family's descendants. Back then, Jiang Jingming tried to get close to him, hoping that Wang Daoyuan would take care of the Jiang family. Wang Daoyuan clasped his hands towards him. "Jiang Daoyu, long time no see. I didn't expect you to be here as well." Jiang Jingming hurriedly bowed. "Greetings, Steward Wang. In the future, I will be working under you. Please take good care of me." Wang Daoyuan stayed in the encampment for a few months, then gathered the 4 Zifu realm cultivators and handed the protector seal and a jade talisman to Jiang Jingming. He said to them, "The spiritual energy here is too thin. It will hinder cultivation. I plan to leave the market and find a nearby place suitable for cultivation. When I am not here, Elder Jiang Jingming will be in charge of everything. If you have any objections, wait for me to return before reporting them. Before I return, you must be obedient. I don't care which faction you belong to. I don't have the time to make things difficult for you, but don't make trouble for me either. Elder Jiang, I won't be too far away from Guiyan market." If you encounter any problems that you cannot resolve, send me a message. I will quickly return. The four of them repeatedly promised that they would take good care of the affairs of Guoyan market. Although Jiang Jingming's talent for cultivation was lacking, his ability to handle affairs wasn't weak. With the seal he had left behind, it wasn't a problem for him to keep two outsider Zifu realm cultivators in check. The upper echelons of the Netherworld school weren't very strict with the various protectors. As long as nothing happened, the protectors could do whatever they wanted. Even if something did happen, at most they would be charged with dereliction of duty. The Netherworld school dared to suppress him, but they didn't dare to act against him directly. After all, he still had the status of being the disciple of Adept Thunderflame. If they acted against him directly, Adept Thunderflame would take revenge on them. Wang Daoyuan hid his power, leaving Guoyan Market. He took a long detour, then arrived at the Blood Shadow North Mountain branch. In the following period of time, he was going to train hard. The Netherworld School's encampment was simply too boring. It was better to train in Zhouwan's estate. You're tuning in to the Xueqi's Martial Arts Saga YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.